Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching third and final part of What If Kid Naruto Found Sasori's Secret Lab. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto's body jerked violently and started to glow green as Sai, Yugito, Tsunami, and Inari attempted to wake him up. Sai said, "This is unexpected," as Naruto started to float as a result of the energy that had just burst from him. Yugito stood there with wide eyes, while Tsunami and Inari stood there dumbfounded by what they were witnessing. I can't believe it." Sai raised a curious eyebrow as he glanced at his teammate. Sai asked a silent question, which Yugito understood and muttered so that only he could hear. "He's gotten his demon on gift him with his mana. The same energy I use for my necromancy." Sai stood there, unable to comprehend. Was the Kyuubi giving Naruto San fresh energy of some kind? How could you persuade a demon to consent to that? His curiosity about both teammates started to grow once more. They watched for 10 minutes as the green glow that surrounded Naruto grew stronger until the light filled the entire house and claimed all of their eardrums with a high-pitched squeal, making Inari scream and Tsunami fall to her knees. Then it abruptly stopped, and Naruto collapsed back to the bed he was currently using, still very much unconscious and breathing heavily. Yugito looked at Sai, and Sai looked at Yugito. "It's best if we leave him here to rest," Sai replied. With a nod of agreement, Yugito stood up and assisted Tsunami in standing up. Inari screamed, "What the hell was that?" and got slapped on the head for it. "Watch your mouth, young man." Inari rubbed his aching head and moaned. He muttered, "Stupid blonde," which made his mother scowl. "Anyway, as his teammate, I apologize for any damage he may have caused," Yugito said. Tsunami simply grinned and replied, "Oh no, it's quite alright. I'm sure he has some issues to work out, so I'm not worried. Now go ahead and assist Kakashi and his team." After thanking each other and nodding, the two walked away. Before she gently left Naruto's room, Tsunami took one last glance at the unconscious character. He looks so peaceful now. Not at all like when he was awake. I wonder what he's been through. Change of scene. Huff huff huff, god damn fox, what the hell did you do? Naruto was breathing heavily while on one knee with his left fist pressed into the wet floor below. The most agonizing thing he had ever experienced was what he had just gone through. Screw the abuse he used to get. They were nothing compared to what he had to endure just a few seconds before. "I suggest you quit bitching and pay attention. I have 9 basic rune names and their symbols to teach you." "Fine." With a sigh, the fox met his gaze. Incendia is fire, Glacis is ice, Levitas is lightning, Terra is earth, Umbra is shadow, Ventus is wind, Lux Lucis is light. There's also metal, then Unda, which is water. These are the 9 elements. If you learn how to completely harness the powers of these runes, more paths will open up to you. These runes are the beginnings of all the paths that will open for you. Naruto gave a nod. You also need to learn the 3 words, Iachio, Cancer, and Inficio, for rune magic. These 3 words, which stand for cast, cancel, and imbue, respectively, will enable you to use any rune you learn to draw in the future. They are the most valuable tool a rune scriber can have, so remember them because I can't repeat them. Naruto nodded once more, his whole body straight and focused. The fox was somewhat impressed. Now for the rune symbols themselves. Change of scene. In comparatively silence, Yugo, Hinata, and Suichi strolled in the direction of the market district. Or it would have been if Yugo hadn't been mumbling about little Hyuga brats and cat bitches all the time. It made Suichi growl and wonder if he should use his new harmonica to put her in a strong genjutsu that showed her Naruto and whipped cream in order to get her to stop talking. For reasons he dared not consider, he promptly discarded that notion. Though not as severe as her friend with the reddish, pink hair, Hinata was in a similar situation. She was concerned about Hanabi, Sasuke, and Naruto. Although she didn't understand it, Naruto reportedly had a new squad, which, at one time, were both his enemies. Before she resumed her pouting, that was all she had been able to escape Yugo with. How could Yugo be so serious one moment and so childish the next? Hinata pondered. She could certainly relate to her feelings for Naruto because she had similar feelings for him prior to his personality change, but still. Yugo, perhaps it is best to think about something else. Training or food perhaps? Saying, Naruto Kun is on a mission away from the village, with an ex-root and an assassin that was just trying to kill him not even 5 days ago. Yugo glared at the former Hyuga. Hinata couldn't stop perspiring. "Oi, Yugo, I think you need to relax. You're acting like a child right now," Suichi said. With a glare that could have scared the Hokage, Yugo turned to face the boy in the wheelchair. I don't trust his so-called team. Shuichi sank slightly in his seat. I think we need not worry about Naruto. He's strong and I don't think the Kumo Kunoichi will try and harm him after what he did for her. Hinata said this while resting a comforting hand on the ANBU's shoulder. Yugo let out a sigh and appeared to relax. Yeah, you're right, but now I'm worried she'll seduce him. Cats are known to be frisky. Ho knows what other attributes that girl has received from her demon. Overabundant lust could be one of those. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha. Shuichi couldn't contain her intense laughter at that moment. Shut it, brat. Hinata sighed, but Shuichi just kept laughing. They were all unaware that they were being watched. Enko scowled. Yugo likes the boy? Well, that's not overly surprising. Damn it, I'm going to have to talk to some people. Silently, she bounded off in a different direction. She had no idea why she was wasting so much time using Kyuubi Jinchuriki to learn more about the vicious puppet, but she didn't give a damn. She needed more information about him. In particular, if he could remove the curse from her shoulder. The feeling of hope that had started to emerge was crushed once more by her. She had no intention of wishing for the worst. What she did was not that. Instead, she completed tasks. She would need to find a way to persuade Naruto to remove the curse seal if he could do it for her. She wasn't going to fool herself into believing that she would just need to ask him and he would immediately agree because he would feel sorry for her. She wasn't so pitiful as to act in such a way, and he wasn't that kind of person. Damn it, I need more info. Yugo had left to train in the meantime, leaving Hinata and Shuichi to talk by themselves. Hinata smiled as she wheeled Shuichi around while he played a gentle tune on his harmonica. After a few minutes, Shuichi remarked, "You know I never see Blondie using that sitar I gave him. He better not be slacking." With a laugh, Hinata remarked, "I'm sure he's training right now and getting good at using that weapon." Shuichi simply gave a shrug. "I just wonder what my sister will think when she eventually meets Naruto." "You're sure they're going to meet?" Shuichi smiled. "Damn right. I know Naruto's representative will eventually begin to spread and it will attract all sorts of attention. My sister will be one of Ho's many people that come seeking him out." After nodding, Hinata raised her head thoughtfully. "I wonder if we can be there next to him with tales of our power being told all over as well. Hee, everyone will know of us." Hinata. You okay?" Hinata simply kept grinning while gazing up at the clouds. Change of scene. Naruto was hurting. As soon as he woke up, it swept through his body like a wave. Even though it was fading, it persisted. He muttered, "Damn fox," as the chest ache subsided. He glanced around in confusion for a moment before remembering his location. He soon realized that he was in a guest bedroom and that, while he was sleeping, Sai and Yugito had gone to Tazuna's bridge. Stretching his aching body, he slowly got out of bed. This was the last day of the mission. I wonder how good a tool Zabuza would make. As he dressed and armed himself, this thought kept repeating in his head. After all, he had a bridge to reach. However, he saw two samurai holding blades to Tsunami's throat and another samurai holding Inari by the throat when he left his room. He wanted to say, "How the hell did you get past the defenses my team and I set up?" but refrained. He had time to attack because the three men's expressions of surprise were still visible. He hit the right pressure points and hurled multiple senbon needles at the three men without saying a word. They collapsed to the ground, paralyzed and unconscious. Without saying another word, he pulled out his hammer and struck it 3 times, smashing his victims' skulls and splattering blood all over Inari and Tsunami. Inari exclaimed, "Holy shit," while Tsunami simply gasped. After glancing at the two, Naruto said, "I apologize for the blood." He then took out a scroll and sealed everything within, including the blood that had been spilled. "There now, stay inside until we get back." Then he spun around and bounded out the door. For several more minutes, Inari just stared until he finally spoke in a tremulous voice. He killed Jigatu's men. Just like that, gone." Tsunami was only able to nod. A series of abrupt revelations appeared on Inari's face. There might have been hope. Change of scene. When the security puppets came on, Naruto turned to face Tazuna's house, sent a chakra wave through the space, and nodded contentedly. In their hurry, he guessed that, after installing their respective security systems, Sai and he neglected to turn them on. The location of Yugito's zombie samurai was unknown to him. After finishing that, he turned and hurried to the bridge, where he unlocked Danzo and Mizuki. Change of scene. Kakashi had multiple levels of evil in his head. When they reached the bridge, things were irksome. and many employees came to Tizuna and resigned out of fear for their lives. A mist began to roll in at an unusual pace, and he grew tense. When the agonized screams of the rest of Tizuna's workers began to reverberate through the mist, he became tense. When the mist lifted and he saw the workers' gravely wounded and unconscious bodies writhing on the bridge, he became concerned. When the fog finally lifted and he saw a man brandishing a massive zanbatu and a young man who appeared to be a woman, he finally dubbed it a bad day. Kakashi. We meet again, Zabuza said, his smile peeking out from under the bandages. Yes, Kakashi said, assuming his fighting stance, it seems so. Zabuza glared as Yugito and Sai suddenly materialized. Have you called for backup? Faye. For me, it won't make any difference, I'll take on everyone. Sai stiffened and took out his scroll, brush, and ink. Wait, Kakashi said, you and Yugito take on Zabuza's apprentice. Sasuke and I will battle Zabuza. Sakura and Hanabi protect Tizuna. The group nodded and took their places. Yugito and Sai rushed at Zabuza's partner, who met them halfway with a spectacular display of speed. Yugito threw a few shuriken with deadly accuracy, and the nin ducked under them, only to be met with a fist from Sai and a foot to the face curtsy from Yugito. The nin was sent flying back to Zabuza. Well, Kakashi, you have some amazing brats working for you. That level of skill is beyond what I thought mere genin could possess. As Hanabi yelled, Kakashi's perspiration fell. Did you not pay attention the last time we fought? You were almost killed by Sasuke and me. And Yugito. San and I aren't genin, Sai said. Zabuza scowled. Sakura put a hand on Hanabi's shoulder to calm her down after she glared. 2 seconds after Sasuke and Kakashi exchanged glances, they collided with Zabuza's blade. Kaden. Gokyoku no Jutsu. Zabuza had little time to recover as Kakashi appeared and slammed a foot into his abdomen, sending him into the water. Kakashi leapt after him, but Sasuke remained where he was, looking somewhat sheepish. Zabuza was taken aback by Sasuke's action and was blasted back by the large fireball that erupted from the Uchiha's mouth. I still don't know how to walk on water. If it weren't for the enormous water tornado that struck him and sent him back to the bridge, Kakashi would have nodded and carried on attacking Zabuza. A dense white fog quickly engulfed the area as Kakashi sighed and pulled his headband up, reveling the Sharingan, which made Zabuza smirk and say, Sweden. Kirigakure no Jutsu. Shit, Kakashi uttered. That damnable eye won't work on me twice, Zabuza said with a laugh. I've discovered its secret. Kakashi, you're dead. Now Kakashi started to worry a little. In the meantime, Sai and Yugito continued their battle with Zabuza's partner, a powerful ninja with exceptional speed. You can't prevail. You are both not at your best, and I can tell that already. I can tell by your appearance that you were hurt and that the black-haired woman hasn't been in a fight in a long time. Most likely imprisoned somewhere? The nin froze, then went into overdrive preparing the jutsu. Whatever this woman was, she was powerful. The killing intent alone was playing tricks on his mind, making him feel as though he was staring the Shinigami itself in the face. Yugito appeared to become enraged, while Sai showed no visible reaction. She squatted down as purple-black chakra started to seep from her body, saying, You know not who you are facing, fool, as the chakra started to swirl around her. As Zabuza's apprentice completed his jutsu, a dome of ice mirrors materialized around the two, and Yugito rose again, grinning with slitted cat eyes. I see now that I shouldn't treat you lightly. Even with your improvements, you won't be able to keep up with me. Sai looked at Yugito and said, I trust you can track him? Then the two watched as he melted into one of his mirrors and brandished several senbon needles. Yugito nodded, grinning, and a second later, they were both covered in senbon needles. Gosh! I informed you. My speed is unparalleled while I'm in these mirrors. After extracting several needles from his arms, Sai collected chakra in his legs. I have faced faster opponents than you. Yugo. San would be an example. After that, he and Yugito both disappeared. Change of scene. When Yugito released some of the Nibi's chakra, Sakura became a little alarmed. She was there the night she battled Naruto, just like everyone else. However, Hanabi abruptly pushed her aside with a shout of, Look out, before she had a chance to think. She stared at the projectile weapons for a few seconds before looking up to see that Tizuna was concealed behind an earth wall. A millisecond before several shuriken embedded into the spot where she just was. Haruno, wake up now, Hanabi yelled, we're being attacked. Sakura let out a gasp and jumped up, realizing that Hanabi, with his face bandaged and his left arm still covered in cuts and bruises, had her back against the earth wall, attempting to avoid being run through by one of the demon brothers. "You're a bitch. You'll pay for my brother's death." With the intention of tearing her through with his claws, the Chunin leapt at Hanabi. The man's brother was caught off guard by Hanabi's unexpected and extremely impressive abilities, and as a result, he was simultaneously burned by fire and mutilated by wind blades. Kaden, it was an element fusion. Sakura had a clear memory of that day and wondered for several hours how a 9-year-old girl could be so viciously murderous. When Hanabi yelled, "Kaden! Kaden no ho shuriken," Sakura could only stare in disbelief. The man had no chance. Hanabi began to spin quickly, her body exploding with chakra. However, the chakra simultaneously changed into a whirling whirlpool of orange flames. When it came to the Jayuken, or more precisely the Kaden, Hanabi was a true genius. She had developed a style that combined elements and weapons with her Kadens, making her overall approach very unpredictable and dangerous. She was free to research and incorporate anything she wanted into her fighting style without the Hyuga clan's limitations and restrictions, as well as her time spent watching Naruto train with his Hyuga puppet Yoshino. And a terrible variety of various heavenly spins were the outcome. The Kiri Chunin was flung back after colliding forcefully with the extremely hot chakra dome. Approximately 16 shuriken, each glowing red from the heat, exploded from the fire dome before he could even start to scream in agony. Like a hot knife through butter, 3 found their target and melted straight through his body. The man fell into the water and screamed in pain. The fire chakra disappeared and Hanabi ceased spinning. She smirked at Sakura and remarked, "Haruno, get your act together." Sakura gave a scowl. "Shut up, brat." Hanabi simply kept grinning. At the moment, she felt so superior. Returning her attention to Tazuna, she saw that he was trembling in terror. A red-hot shuriken just an inch from his manhood. With a drop of perspiration, Hanabi said, "I apologize, Tazuna-san." "Watch where you throw those things," was Tazuna's response. "Hey, I said my apologies, that doesn't excuse the fact that you nearly castrated me." With a sigh, Sakura returned her focus to Yugito and Sai in time to witness Zabuza's apprentice rush at Yugito from a mirror while brandishing an ice replica of Zabuza's sword. She screamed, "Gasp! Look out!" But Yugito was unable to respond in time. In order to run the Nibi Jinchuriki through from behind, the masked nin ran at her. However, something took place. A huge ink lion grabbed hold of the sword just as it was ready to stab Yugito in the back. Sai said, "Please remember that you have more than one opponent," just before he disappeared. A short sword danced across the fictitious hunter nin's chest before he could react. With a hiss of agony, he jumped back and remerged himself in one of his mirrors. "You too are STR." He was interrupted by a fist covered in black and purple chakra that slammed into his face and threw him yards away, shattering the mirror he was hiding in like ordinary glass. He couldn't help but worry as he skipped across the ground. Zabuza was losing to him. Yugito and Sai gazed down at him, their ragged, shallow breathing a testament to their strength's inhibitions. When Yugito said, "Give up or die," he glared. The boy stood up unsteadily. "No, I am Zabuza. Sama's tool. I will not fail him." Sai summoned a huge ink eagle, and Yugito sneered. "Suit yourself." Change of scene. In addition to blocking a Kakashi blow, Zabuza buried his heel in Sasuke's solarplex. He ducked under Kakashi's jab, taunting, "Really now? Is that the best you two can do?" Panting, Sasuke leapt to his feet. He was upset because he couldn't see shit in this fog. He was cursing himself and everything that had to do with water. He took out a length of ninja wire and several kunai and said, "Fucking damn it. Damn missing Kiri Nin." He might be able to find him if he paid close enough attention. He grinned when he finally heard footsteps moving to the left. There, he threw his wire, hung shuriken in that direction without pausing for thought. Zabuza felt the wires encircle him and tighten until they were drawing blood, just as he was ready to cut the gullible Kakashi in two with his Zanbatsu. "Shit. Hey, I looks like I got you." Zabuza frowned as Sasuke appeared out of the fog, smirking and glaring with a spinning Sharingan. "I'm glad I got the right guy," he said, making Kakashi perspire. "I was only half positive that I hadn't snagged Kakashi instead of you." "Now," Sasuke said, beginning to look through the hand signals. "Element fusion art. Electric fire dragon jutsu. Prepare to die by my newest jutsu." Kakashi would always wonder where Sasuke had acquired lightning skills. However, it wouldn't begin to cross his mind until later because Sasuke's jutsu was about to completely destroy everything within 5 meters. As a huge fire dragon streaking with electricity shot out of Sasuke's mouth with the force of a hurricane, racing down the wires and toward the wide-eyed Zabuza. Kakashi yelled, "Damn it, Sasuke! Restrain yourself." The sudden electrical strikes and the extreme heat forced both Konoha shinobi to jump back. When the bridge rumbled due to Sasuke's jutsu, Yugito, Sai, and Haku stopped in the distance, and Hanabi grinned at the gaping Sakura and Tazuna. "What was that?" Haku inquired. "The words, that was impressive Uchiha," Yugito muttered. Kakashi, meanwhile, was looking at Sasuke with a mixture of shock and reprimand. The Uchiha was about to reply with a haughty grin when Zabuza emerged from the water with a few burns on his body and a slightly melted Kabikari Hucho. "Sasuke, just what the hell was that? And why the hell don't you warn a guy before you use something like that? Brat. I'll kill you. Kenjutsu, Suiryu Yaiba." Sasuke and Kakashi were unprepared for the Mist Nin's attack and were unable to do much to stop it. With tremendous force, Zabuza swung his sword down, causing a massive water dragon to emerge and fill the entire area with water that was cold enough to freeze blood in a matter of seconds. Sasuke and Kakashi were knocked off their feet and hurled in the direction of Yugito, Sai, and Haku. The water resembled a strong river. Nobody was aware of Zabuza's power. With no emotion, Sai used his chakra to remain rooted to the bridge and said, Impressive Zabuza-san." Zabuza had a positively furious expression. Would these haughty gakis dare to make fun of him? The Mist Village's demon? To him, they were scum? They were insignificant. He became enraged, and his grip tightened around his weapon. "Haku! Come here!" Haku instantly disappeared and resurfaced beside Zabuza. However, Yugito joined him and sent him farther up the bridge by sinking her fist covered in Nibi chakra into his stomach. "RRRRRARRRGGGHHHH," Zabuza screamed in frustration as he swung his blade at Yugito, but she dodged it with the grace that only a cat could have. They make fun of him once more. A smaller version of Zabuza's blade had reformed in Haku's hands as he had recovered and wrapped himself in ice armor. After glancing at Yugito, he disappeared. As he cut her across the back, he screamed, "I won't let you hurt Zabuza Sama," and she hissed loudly. 2 feet crashed into his face just as he was about to hit again, sending him skidding back. Sai and Sasuke stood ready to continue their battle. Sai appeared neutral, but Sasuke had his trademark smug grin. Kakashi was also feeling better and was staring at Zabuza. "You see Zabuza, you cannot win this one. You're outnumbered and outgunned. Give up." Zabuza frowned and opened his mouth to say that he would not give up when he heard the cry, "Ice release. Javelin Jutsu 100. From above came the words, "Zabuza Sama. Be careful." Before hundreds of ice spears descended upon them like rain, everyone was attacked, Haku yelled. Yugito and Sasuke both screamed, "Shit," simultaneously. "Damn. Take cover." Kakashi screamed. Then, to save their lives, many counters to Haku's mass assault jutsu were activated. "Tazuna-san, Haruno, get behind me. Kaden." The blue rotating dome of chakra engulfed all 3 of them and redirected the spears that were aimed at them as Hanabi screamed as she started to spin. "Shini Kachiyose no Jutsu." Yugito squatted down and uttered, before she slammed her hands into the ground, causing an overhead disc made of pressed together skeletons to appear in a puff of green mist above them. The spears bounced harmlessly off of the disc, causing Zabuza to curse loudly. "Damn it, why won't any of you die?" he shouted. Just as he was about to charge, a metal spike slowly slid back out of his torso, causing Zabuza to look down in shock as something exploded from his chest, spraying blood all over a gasping Haku. "They won't die, because you're weaker than they are." That voice, at times even colder than his own, was so emotionless and heartless that it sent chills down his spine, though the shivers might have been caused by shock because of the hole in his chest. What? When Zabuza turned to confront his new enemy, he was met with the coldest blue eyes he had ever seen, eyes that belonged only to the most seasoned combatants. When he saw that it was only a boy with yellow hair, he felt his own eyes widen in surprise. His face was a disinterested frown, and he twitched his fingers, causing the puppet that was supposed to look like an old man to retract the rope spear that protruded from his right hand. While a couple of the Konoha nin, including Yugito and Hanabi, were excitedly calling out the name Naruto, Zabuza clutched at the hole in his chest and felt his vision suddenly become blurry. Haku was screaming Zabuza's name in terror. "You are jeopardizing our mission, Momochi Zabuza, former swordsman from Kirigakure no Sato, and for that you die." "No." As Haku emerged from a mirror and attempted to remove his head with his ice sword, another puppet caught the blade and swirled with a corrupted power while holding it in one hand. Haku gasped when the puppet snapped the blade as if it were nothing and then pressed its clawed hand into his chest. An ice bloodline limit, As Haku gasped for air, Naruto remarked, "You'll make a great tool. But in order to become that, you must first die, you and your foolish master." Haku made a last-ditch effort to create a jutsu, but Naruto saw through it and used his free hand to grab his hammer. He said, "It's too late for you," just before his hammer struck Haku's temple, instantly killing him. Without any delay, Naruto ordered both puppets to descend upon the faltering figure of Zabuza, with Mizuki slitting his throat and Danzo slitting his spine with a kunai. Only Tazuna and Sakura were spared the impact of this efficient murder. They were simply staring at the boy as he sealed both bodies into scrolls. He was approached by Sasuke, who said, "Peeved show off. We only made them weaker for you, which is why you were able to defeat them so easily." With a shrug, Naruto remarked, "That is a fact that is already known, however it matters not." Sasuke grinned once more before approaching Sakura and Tazuna. "That was fantastic, Naruto." "Sama!" yelled Hanabi just to irritate Sakura, who was still a little sore from the Kyuubi's earlier actions, as she slammed into Naruto's chest in a tight embrace, completely unaware of how close she was to having a kunai jammed in her neck out of reflex. Naruto sighed as the Hyuga girl continued to smother herself in his chest. "Hanabi, let go of me." Just as she opened her mouth to reply, she heard a cane slamming into the cement at the end of the bridge. Apparently, Zabuza and his little goon were unable to make it. Sigh, it's so hard to find decent henchmen these days. Well, whatever. At least I don't have to worry about killing them anymore because they're dead. As the group turned, they noticed a short man in a business suit and sunglasses standing at the end of the bridge with a sizable thug's army. As Naruto wrenched Hanabi from him, his eyes narrowed. "Are you Gato?" He smirked and said, "And what if I am?" He was not one to waste time. To the surprise of the hired thugs, Naruto emerged behind him, and a second later he collapsed to the ground with a kunai in the back of his head. "Then you die," he stated without emotion. It took a few seconds for the men with Gato to stop staring before someone shouted, "Hey, our meal ticket was that." "Yeah, what will you do about it, then?" "I propose that we raid the village and take everything we can." "Yes." However, the arrival of Inari, who was leading the wave villagers, disrupted their small plan. "We'll murder you ourselves if you take one more step," the boy yelled as he aimed a crossbow at the group. Kakashi made multiple shadow clones. Yugito called forth a dozen skeletons, and Sai drew up a few wolves. Naruto himself returned to his allies and smirked menacingly at the group. The group finally relaxed when common sense overcame their greed and they fled, vowing never to interact with Wave again. Inari gave Naruto a look that made it obvious that she admired him. Before long, not a single bandit remained. Hanabi took hold of his arm and smiled at Yugito, who sighed and continued walking. Kakashi said, "Let's go get some rest," skipping time. At the end of the finished bridge, the wave villagers gathered to bid the group farewell. "Hey Naruto, don't forget to come back sometime." Tsunami nodded in agreement as Inari spoke excitedly. With a small nod, Naruto said, "I will consider it." "Thank you all for everything," Tazuna said, moving forward to shake hands with each of them. "We'll be in your department forever." Overall, the mood was quite cheerful, with Kakashi grinning with one eye and saying, "Just be sure to pay us when you can and we'll call it even." Tazuna grunted out, "Greedy ninja," but in a playful way, and Sai and Yugito stood off to the side, feeling a little out of place despite their contributions. Sasuke was obviously enjoying the attention, while Hanabi was attempting to get Naruto to be a little more forthcoming. Kakashi said, "Well then, take care Tazuna-san," and he turned to leave with the other Konoha nin. Tazuna eyed Naruto's back as they went, saying, "This bridge should be named after that boy because he killed Gato." Naruto's famous bridge, named after a hero who is still unaware of his greatness. With a giggle, Tsunami said, "That was very deep too, san. I have my moments, you know, does anyone disagree?" Tazuna grinned when no one spoke. The magnificent Naruto bridge is finished. A few cheers were heard. Change of scene. Hanabi spotted something as the group was leaving the bridge on the opposite side, and he quickly ran to the side and onto the shore. As she got closer to one of the demon brothers' bodies, the group watched in shock. He appeared to have spent some time in the water. Retaining the man's clawed gauntlet with the long chain still hanging from it, Hanabi put it firmly on her own arm. She smiled at Naruto and said, "I'm going to use this weapon to create a really cool Kaden." The blonde was thinking about his own new tools, a bloodline user, 2 lower-level swordsmen, and a powerful swordsman, and he was eager to finish them as he polished his hammer. Before leaving the wave, his final thoughts were, another bloodline puppet. Yes, I believe this one will work perfectly. Haku. From Kakashi's perspective, the journey back to Konoha was interesting. He had never encountered a group of people whose personalities were so erratic in his life. When Naruto was around, Hanabi changed from being a quiet, serious, and haughty young girl to a squealing, hyper child. The fact that she was holding his arm while yelling, "Play with me, Naruto Sama," made this clear. Hanabi knew that her requests didn't sound like that, even though they sounded completely twisted. All she wanted was his attention, and she was vying for it with Yugito. He was intrigued by Yugito. He certainly didn't know there were female Icha fans out there. She currently had his book and was engrossed in it. Although she did occasionally bump her hip into Naruto's and say, "Oops, my apologies Uzumaki Kun." Hanabi would then yell and tell him to leave him alone because Naruto Sama hated Yugito's guts. Yugito would then scoff and tell the girl to stop dreaming, and Hanabi would yell loudly and charge the Nibi Jinchuriki with her new gauntlet. Whether it was because he was preoccupied with ideas for new puppets or simply because he was accustomed to this and lacked the energy to entice both girls away from him, Naruto was handling everything calmly. For whatever reason, Kakashi was impressed by his endurance. Right up until Naruto knocked both girls unconscious by jamming a senbon in their necks. The boy growled, "God damn it," and went on. Kakashi's perspiration fell. "Ooh, I didn't know you were into that sort of thing Uzumaki Kun. But I must inform you that sleeping drugs are useless against me. However, you can still use me as a hostage while I'm still conscious. It's no big deal," Yugito said, followed by a face plant. The group followed Kakashi as he slung Hanabi over his shoulder and went on. Sasuke and Sai didn't get along. In actuality, the exact opposite occurred. When the Uchiha learned that Sai was a member of Root, he yelled angrily, "You bastard! How dare you show your face to me? Fight me now or die a swift and messy death." Soon after, there was ink and jutsus for 30 minutes. Sakura. Well, she just remained near Kakashi and timidly inspected the special op nin, still attempting to ascertain whether Naruto was, in fact, the monster her mother was always yapping about. Then, as Uchiha and Sai began fighting, she abruptly did a 180-degree turn and yelled, "Go get him Sasuke Kun! Rip him to shreds." All things considered, Kakashi was quite relieved to see the gates to Konoha. The group appeared in front of Izumo and Katetsu, who were once again positioned at the gates. They watched silently as Yugito followed Naruto as he passed them, tucking Kakashi's Icha into the pouch of her weapon. Then, as Sai's foot struck his head, they witnessed Sasuke punch him. Sakura let out a loud cry for her unending love as the two of them flew in different directions due to the force of their blows. The two Chunin simply nodded with perspiration and gestured for him to enter the village. "As you can see, we're back and the mission was a success," Kakashi said wearily. All Izumo could say was, "Wow, change of scene." The recollection struck Naruto midway on his way home. After turning around, he glared into Yugito's startled eyes and declared, "You're going to help me rebuild my house?" With a tense laugh, Yugito replied, "Yeah, of course." With a grunt, Naruto turned around again. In order to turn Zabuza, Haku, and the two would-be samurai into puppets, he wanted this completed as quickly as possible. However, he was shocked to see that the place had already been rebuilt when he and Yugito arrived. The complex appeared brand new, with some areas even having been upgraded. He turned back to Yugito and remarked, "It looks like they already finished it, but do not think you are off of the hook yet, woman." Several shuriken were embedded in the ground at Yugito's feet before she could react. When Naruto and Kunoichi, the former Kumo, looked up, they saw Yugo on the roof, staring down at Yugito. She snarled, "What the hell do you think you're doing here?" Yugito simply linked an arm with Naruto and grinned that famous cat smirk. "I'm his teammate now, so I get to spend lots of time with him." With an explosion of superhuman speed, the purple-haired Anbu disappeared and then reappeared at Yugito's neck brandishing a katana. "Only during missions, bitch. Until then I don't trust you enough to leave you with Naruto Kun, so beat it." After that, she bent down and kissed Naruto on the neck. "It's good to have you back, by the way. I hope you like what the two Hyugas and I managed to do with the place." Naruto simply grunted and entered the enormous house that had been transformed from an apartment complex. He only said, "Don't kill each other," before vanishing around a corner. "I'll give you until the third of 3 to leave and I'm cutting your damn fingers off," Yugo said, glaring back at Yugito. As Yugo continued counting down, Yugito's grin only got bigger. Change of scene. Naruto was pleased with the way the place was transformed. The roof was no longer cracked, the walls had all been freshly painted and repaired, and the empty rooms no longer smelled of embalming fluid and elderly people. He was impressed. The floors were even successfully carpeted. Every wall was adorned with weapons, and puppets were constantly patrolling the hallways. However, many puppets and security seals were broken or missing. He would need to fix that. Without thinking, he turned to a door marked, "Eating Quarters," and went in. Then, he was taken aback upon seeing what was clearly a large kitchen that had once been 4 rooms that had been combined. In the center of the kitchen, where Hinata and Neji were sipping tea, was a large round table with 5 chairs, a large sink to the right of the stoves, and 4 stoves with small counters between them. "Oh. Hello Naruto," Hinata said softly as she caught sight of the blonde scanning the kitchen. Hope you like what we've done." After a few more seconds of surveying his surroundings, Naruto nodded. Impressive, according to him. Hinata grinned before Neji jumped to his feet and splattered tea everywhere in alarm as a loud explosion sounded outside. What the hell was that? One more explosion. With a sigh, Naruto remarked, "Yugito and Yugo are fighting. It should be over in a second." 5 more minutes passed while the 3 sat and waited, and then the explosions abruptly stopped. Naruto took a sip of his own tea and remarked, "And now we wait for a few seconds." A knock on the door came precisely 6 seconds later. With a sigh, Naruto stood up and approached the door. Unsurprised, he opened it to find a sizable company of Anbu and Sarutobi with both women draped over his shoulder. As he gave the puppeteer both of the unconscious females, the Hokage appeared frustrated. "I think these belong to you, Naruto. Please refrain from letting them fight over you in the middle of the village." With a sigh, Naruto took the 2, barely staying upright despite the combined weight of the 2. "I'll be sure to inform them, Hokage." "Gigi," said the man. The Hokage ruffled Naruto's hair and grinned. "Good, I'll see you later, Naruto." Naruto gave a nod. One of the Anbu muttered, "Damn demon, keep your pets on shorter leashes," but the Hokage himself struck him in the face with a fist. "Watch your mouth, fool, before I kill you myself," he declared. The other ninja appeared in disbelief. "Anyway, Naruto, I want you and your team to come to my office later." Naruto simply nodded and grunted, then turned to go back inside his house. When his door was knocked on again, he took 2 steps. He put the unconscious women on the floor of the hallway and reopened the door, putting aside his irritation. To discover Hanabi still slung over Kakashi's shoulder. He handed the girl to the puppeteer and remarked languidly, "I think this belongs to you." Naruto simply turned back into his complex after nodding. "Oh, and can I get my book back? I'm not done reading it yet." With a sigh, Naruto gestured toward Yugito. "It's in her weapons pouch. Take it," he replied. Kakashi appeared a little apprehensive, but he ignored it. Just in time to witness Kakashi extract the book from Yugito's kunai pouch and Shunshin leave as quickly as possible. Neji and Hinata came into the hall, still sipping tea, to see what was happening. "Take her to her room while I deal with these 2, Naruto said, gesturing to Hinata. With a nod, Hinata carefully removed Hanabi from his grasp and made her way to the little girl's remodeled bedroom. Neji inquired, "So how was your mission?" Smiling slightly, Naruto declared, "I've gained 2 powerful new tools and 2 more security guards." After giving a nod, Neji returned to the kitchen. Not much could be said. It could be argued that Naruto has evolved. No one dared to approach him 2 months ago. Everyone shrank in terror at the mention of his name, and all they could say about him was negative. However, the boy appeared more at ease now. Although many questioned whether he saw it himself, Konoha residents did. If you insulted him, he was less likely to bury a kunai in your skull and was more approachable. There were those who thought he was simply waiting. Because of his expanding group of companions, a demon was unable to alter its nature while others were aware of it. Most people became aware of this change following his altercation with the Kumo Jinchuriki. He spared her, took her to the hospital, and even paid her a visit while she was being held in prison, as opposed to killing her as he would have normally done. For once, not all of the rumors that circulated throughout Konoha about Naruto were negative. It was therefore not surprising to see his eyes take on a warmth that was almost imperceptible but still present as he spoke when he knelt down to awaken Yugito and Yugo. "Wake up, you two. We have some things to talk about, and now." He shook them gently until they both opened their eyes simultaneously. Yugo tried to clear her mind of the cobwebs and asked, "Huh? Where am I? What happened?" In contrast, Yugito smiled and leapt to his feet, embracing Naruto tightly and stating, "Now this I can get used to. Waking up with an Adonis's face looking down at me. Hey! Let go of him this instant, bitch!" Yugo yelled and charged as Yugito simply grinned. Then, as her stomach struck Naruto's arm, which then firmly encircled her waist, she let out a loud oof. Yugo was about to object when she noticed his angry, ice blue eyes. Naruto looked back at Yugito with the same expression. "Now listen up," he said, his voice low and menacing. "Learn to get along or I'll make you learn. Yugito is going to be staying here now, and Yugo, you had better accept that. I will not have this place getting destroyed again, and your constant fighting over me gets on my nerves. Do I make myself clear?" Naruto let go of Yugo when both females nodded. He left after saying, "Good. Yugito, find a room and make it yours." "Wow," Yugito exclaimed, his eyes wide. Yugo's eyes were full of attraction as she said, "I know. He's such an intimidating guy, isn't he? All the more reason to make him mine," Yugito said with a smile. Yugo scowled but remained silent. She said, "Humph," and left Yugito to explore the space before going to her own room. The fact that his room had also been fixed and that all of his puppet making supplies had been stacked neatly on his walls made Naruto very happy. He was relieved that he wouldn't have to waste time creating a suitable space for his puppets because Yugo, Neji, and Hinata had done a fantastic job fixing the place. He removed his cloak and exposed his bare upper body without saying a word. He removed his hammer as well, paying little attention to the fact that it was still smeared with the blood of the wave samurai. Storage seals for the weapons he used in his metal hailstorm attack were all over his body. He suddenly realized that Hanabi would be better suited for this attack. He reminded himself to ask her if she wanted to be attacked. He himself didn't see any further use for it. The sitar Suichi had left him was also present. He suddenly realized that he was not very useful with that weapon either. It was clearly helpful, but it didn't suit his fighting style. He mentally noted once more that he should repair Suichi's legs, whether he wanted them fixed or not, and then return his weapon to him. He saw that Yoshino, Fox Naruto, and Oni Tenshi, his other puppets, were hanging on the wall. They still needed to be fixed. With a sigh, he let go of Danzo and Mizuki and hung them alongside his beetle armor on the wall. He needed to do a lot of work. He began by emptying all of the weapons that were kept inside the seals on his body. Then he wet a towel and wiped the seals off. He then took out the 2 storage scrolls and opened them to reveal the bodies of the 2 samurai, Zabuza and Haku. He didn't even react when he saw the corpses. Instead, he got to work, calling forth 3 shadow clones and using chakra strings to pull all the required tolls on him and his copies. Given that he was largely ignorant of Zabuza's techniques beyond the Kirigakure, Suiryuden, and his Kenjutsu, he had a unique plan for both Zabuza and Haku. He was well aware of Haku's Hyouten ancestry and reasoned, grinning slyly, that rather than having 2 powerful puppets, he would have one that had both of their skills. Indeed, this was going to be a fascinating experience. As an afterthought, he called forth additional clones and uttered the words, "Repair Fox Naruto, Yoshino, and Oni Tenshi as well." With no less reaction than the original, the clones nodded and went to work. Change of scene. When Yugito discovered the training grounds, she was overjoyed. The facility was so cutting edge that she was eager to give it a try. The most thrilling place she had ever been was Uzumaki-kun's house. There were puppets everywhere, just waiting to attack. A few of them did actually hit her, but she was spared a horrible death by her cat. Like Grace and immunity to poisons. Nevertheless, the puppets eventually halted their attack, seemingly satisfied that she had no malicious intent. In any case, she discovered a number of empty rooms during her tour, including one that belonged to Neji, another that was Hinata's, and Hanabi dozing off in her room while the Demon Brothers' gauntlet was still on her arm. She discovered many bathrooms in the kitchen. She also noticed that there were weapons on every wall, and she couldn't help but be impressed by some of them. Clearly, Uzumaki-kun made or stole them himself. If she took that blood-red scythe that was hanging on the wall, would he mind? The genius was Uzumaki-kun. That was what she and the Nibi had decided. A voice from behind her interrupted her as she turned to leave the dojo. "I see you've taken the liberty of touring our home. Tell me, what do you think?" After turning around, Yugito met Neji's pale lavender eyes. With his arms folded, he stood there looking with a faint smile on his face. "I love it." Yugito grinned back, adding, "You guys sure have a nice place." "No thanks to you," Neji recounted. Yugito gave a shrug. "It's in the past now." After appearing to consider his response, Neji shrugged and pulled out 2 kunai. I'm looking for a sparring partner. My sensei has informed my team and I that we will be participating in the Chunin exams in a few weeks. And you want to practice with me? Neji gave another shrug. I see no reason why not. Besides, I can see the desire for a fight in your eyes. You might as well spar with me. Grinning, Yugito snatched the red scythe from the wall. Neji shook his head, saying, Uzumaki-kun won't care, will he? No, especially since I'm the one who found that weapon. Yugito leapt at the former Hyuga and squealed with girlish delight. Well then, let's get started. Change of scene. With a sigh, Sarutobi reviewed Kakashi's mission report. Thanks to Naruto and his group, it was a success. That made him smile a little. Naruto was incredibly skilled. He questioned how long Naruto would put up with his team setup. He was aware that the boy was not particularly concerned at the moment and that Naruto appeared to be considering both Sai and Yugito. But he was also aware of Naruto's preference for solitude. However, Naruto has welcomed a number of people into his house, so who knows, later, he would figure it out. He would send for Naruto's team after completing the paperwork on his desk. Skipping time. A faint rumble from her bed roused Hanabi. When she recognized the familiar surroundings of her own room, she rubbed the sleep from her eyes and looked around, attempting to guess where she might be. Huh? What happened? Where am I? She asked. She smiled a little. Being at home felt good. Her bed rumbled abruptly once more. As she climbed out of bed, she asked herself, what the heck was that? In an attempt to determine whether the rumbling had a specific source, she turned on her Byakugan and discovered that it did. The dojo was where it was. Neji and the catgirl. They're sparring. Wait, since when is she allowed in here? She saw Neji dodge a side swing, then jump up and shoot a massive chakra beam from his palm, sending another rumble as it struck the ground. Hanabi let out a gasp. Neji can do that. No way. She didn't hear Hinata enter until she spoke because she was so absorbed in the conflict between her cousin and the Nibi Jinchuriki. Hanabi. Chanai, Hey. As she spun around, Hanabi threw multiple shuriken, almost removing Hinata's eyes in the process. Oops, sorry. Hinata paused for a few deep breaths before continuing. Anyway, I've been informed that Yugito-san will be living here from now on and that Naruto wants Yugo and her to all get along. He also said something about a senbon in the neck, but I'm not sure. As she left the room, Hinata stifled a smile. Without a doubt, Hanabi was preparing to go down to the dojo and fight Yugito alongside Neji. For the next few days, everything proceeded as usual. Throughout the whole time, nobody had seen Naruto's hide or hair. Hanabi, Yugo, Yugito, and Neji were still in the dojo, and Sasuke Suichi and, somewhat unexpectedly, Sai had paid a visit. However, whenever Sasuke and Sai were together, there was a great deal of tension. Additionally, a small group of inebriated and unruly villagers had attempted to attack and set fire to the complex, claiming that the demon and his small bandits and whores were deserving of death. Naturally, as long as they arrived at the hospital in time, they only suffered fatal injuries. Naruto eventually emerged from his room in the middle of the third day, covered in blood and smelling like something straight out of someone's ass. 2 puppets were slung over his shoulders, and he was grinning contentedly. They were Wave's 2 samurai. Guards and bystanders were afraid to speak, so he went to the front of the apartment building and set up the 2 puppets without saying anything. After finishing and confirming that the puppets were working properly, he returned to the complex, went back to his room, and took a shower. In addition to Zabuza's enormous blade and a number of other weapons that glowed with odd symbols, Hinata peered into the room and saw a massive mess of blood and preserved organs in jars of embalming fluid. A scythe, a katana, a kusarigama, a bow, staff, a naginata, a spear, a gauntlet with claws, a hammer, and a gigantic Fuma shuriken with 4 points. Tan symbols that resembled hills or mountains glowed on the hammer. The kusarigama glowed with symbols that resembled blue waves. The kusarigama glowed with symbols that resembled black smoky, very ninja seals. The bow staff glowed with turquoise snowflakes. The naginata glowed with white symbols that resembled blowing winds. The spear glowed with lightning bolts. The gauntlet glowed with bright yellow symbols that resembled sun rays. The scythe glowed with red flames, and the shuriken glowed with indistinguishable silver. Each weapon was exquisitely crafted and exuded a power distinct from chakra. Hinata was unable to look away from the weapons. When Naruto came out of his bathroom 20 minutes later, he discovered her in this manner. He smirked and said, "Impressive, aren't they?" which made her jump and squeak with surprise. She began, "Sorry, I couldn't help it, they were so beautiful but Naruto interrupted her by putting a finger to her lips. There is no need for all of that apologizing. You were merely fascinated. I am not going to attack you. Hinata gave a nod. Yes. Naruto nodded in agreement and gently pushed her from the room using chakra strings. When Hinata blushed and started to apologize again, the boy's stern expression made her stop. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to get dressed and clean up the mess. Naruto simply grunted and shut the door after hearing, yes. Well, goodbye then Naruto. Without a word, Hinata returned to her room. What were those odd signs? Maybe his teammate or Yugo would know. She had never before seen such exquisite symbols. There was no doubt about it, it was something she would be thinking about all day. Naruto frowned as he studied the garments before him. His orange shorts were beyond repair and covered in blood. He was in dire need of something fresh. In addition, his trench coat was soiled. Although it was still in comparatively good shape, it was too heavy and would be better off elsewhere. I'll have to get something new. Naruto had new clothes, so it wasn't like that. He simply didn't think it was necessary to constantly change. It didn't bother him because he always kept himself clean and washed his shorts and underwear at least twice a day. He now understood, though, that perhaps a new look was in order. For the first time in a long time, he went to his dresser and opened it. He muttered, well, it's not much but these will have to do, and took out a fishnet shirt, an orange scarf, and a pair of black Jonin style pants with orange stripes down the sides of each leg. Just as he was about to put them on, he caught a glimpse of his beetle armor. He might be able to incorporate that into his new appearance. Change of scene. Before he remembered something, Sarutobi let out a sigh of relief as she filed away the final official form. Oh right, I'm still supposed to meet with Naruto and his team. After hastily writing a note indicating his destination, he disappeared from his office and headed for the young puppeteer's house. Change of scene. When Naruto emerged, Yugito, Yugo, Hanabi, Neji, and Hinata were all chatting and munching on snacks outside in the backyard. So this is where you all are. What are you doing? When Yugo and Yugito saw him, they both gasped. The boy's appearance had significantly improved. He was wearing a fishnet shirt that nicely defined his muscular figure and black pants that were taped from the ankle to just below the knee, in place of the cloak, trench coat, and tattered orange shorts. His beetlefoot boots were still on his legs, but they had been replaced with shin guards and covers for the tops of his bare feet, so he was no longer noticeably taller than usual. He replaced the old headband with a thick orange new scarf around his neck, to which his forehead protector was fastened. The helmet on his head, 2 spare arms, and the protective plate of his beetle armor were all displayed on his chest. But the helmet was different. It now resembled the head of a hornet rather than the upper portion of a stag beetle. His eyes were covered by a tinted shade that was meant to resemble compound eyes, and his forehead was curved backward by 2 long antennae. 9 different colored storage scrolls were strapped to his left hip, and the wing case was gone, revealing the insectoid wings underneath, giving the impression that he was born with them. Yugo simply nodded as Yugito said, "Wow, you look amazing Uzumaki-kun," with a perverted smile. Although Hinata was secretly enjoying Naruto's new appearance, the others were also gawking at his unexpected new outfit. The shade slid up into the helmet, revealing his eyes as the blonde tapped a seal on it. "The compliments are appreciated," he stated. Hanabi sprang forward and slammed into his torso, encircling him with her tiny arms in a firm embrace. The group did nothing to get the girl out of Naruto's stomach, but they did see him sigh in frustration. Maybe he was growing too accustomed to these exchanges. On the other hand, this irritated Yugito and Yugo. However, something long, silver, and metallic grabs Hanabi before they can speak or act. It was a tail that resembled a stinger and had once been fastened to Naruto's waist. Nobody had even noticed its movement. When Hanabi saw why she was being raised into the air, her eyes widened in surprise and she burst out laughing. "Hanabi, how many times do I have to tell you to quit hugging me? Ooh, but I can't help it. You look so nice." While Yugito muttered something about young girls acting like adults and pursuing people their own age, Hinata snickered. As he put Hanabi back on the ground and wrapped the metallic tail around his waist, Naruto let out another sigh, an action that was becoming far too frequent. "What brought on the changes to your armor?" Neji ventured forward. Simply raising his head, Naruto remarked, "The beetle theme clashed with my new clothing." Neji accepted the response with a nod. Everyone was starting to calm down again when Sarutobi showed up, making them all almost attack. The Hokage laughed and remarked, Whoa, calm down everyone, it's just me." The group immediately relaxed. "Anyway, I'm actually here for Naruto and Yugito. I need to see you and Sai in my office in 20 minutes. Yugito and Naruto both nodded, and the Hokage disappeared. Neji remarked, it's odd that he came here himself. It's probably because he can't trust anyone enough to come here without them doing something that'll get them killed by Naruto or one of us. Yugo said this. Either way, we got the message. Yugito, let's go. Right. After grabbing the girl and picking her up bridal style, Naruto crouched down and spread his wings a little. Ignoring the glare from Hanabi and Yugo, she smiled and put her arms around his neck after her eyes had first widened. We go. Naruto declared as he leapt into the air, eliciting a squeal of excitement from the Nibi Jinchuriki. As the rest of the group watched, some felt a little envious that Yugito was able to fly with Naruto, while others pondered whether they could also find a way to fly. Change of scene. After being freed from prison by the Hokage, Sai had nowhere to go, so he decided to go back to the now defunct root compound. Even though the place was gloomy and depressing, he would get by. In any case, he never really needed much. A few villagers were startled, and the ink user himself was startled when Naruto and Yugito fell in front of him as he had just left the compound and entered the market district. He only said, "The Hokage requests us in his office," before he took off again. Sai saw that a number of the villagers continued to gaze up at Naruto, seemingly still struggling to accept that someone had managed to get air. After Naruto positioned on its back, Sai would smirk if he knew when to do so. He took out his ink brush, scroll, and ink, painted a bird, and used his chakra to make it come to life and take off. They arrived at the Hokage Tower in no time at all, and they didn't even touch down at the entrance. They chose to land on the balcony instead. The Hokage appeared unsurprised by their unexpected appearance and was waiting for them. Ah, there you are. Yugito was clearly upset about having to leave Naruto's company, but Naruto ignored this and put her on the ground. Naruto questioned, Hokage. Gigi, what do you need from us? With a smile on his face, the elderly man motioned for them to follow him into the office. Oh, it's nothing much, just giving you your pay for your mission. Yugito asked impolitely, that's it? Before being brutally elbowed in the ribs. She gave Naruto, who was staring at the Hokage, a small glare and grunted. Sarutobi found it amusing. Actually, young lady, I would also like for you three to be my bodyguards during the final rounds of the Chunin exams. They were all taken aback by this. Well, I figured you three would like something to do something, considering all of you are a lot stronger than Genin. I know Sai was part of Root, which consisted of upper Chunin level ninja and higher, and Yugito was the personal charge of the Raikage. Then there's you, Naruto. You are one of the most powerful ninjas in Konoha. You guys will make excellent bodyguards. After exchanging glances, the three of them bowed respectfully. We accept, they all said simultaneously. Sarutobi gave a nod. Good. Now here is your payment for your last mission, and here are you Konoha Special Op forehead protectors, Yugito and Sai. With faint smiles, the two accepted the headbands, and then the three of them turned and left the office. Naruto received a smile from Sarutobi. He remarked, you look nice. Naruto just gave a grunt. Whispers began as the three left the tower and made their way down the street. Look, it's the demon, his whore and his little follower. Stay away from them, they're very dangerous. Oh, what are you talking about? Leave the boy alone already, geez. What are you kidding? You've seen what that monster is capable of. What? Flying. Shit, I wish I could fly. Makes me want to learn the puppet technique so I could learn to fly. This caught Naruto off guard, so he didn't bother to punish the jerk who was disparaging him and his friends. Both Sai and Yugito took note of this and looked at Naruto. It seems like some people are changing, Sai remarked. Yugito gave a nod. It feels kinda nice. Naruto remained silent. The three had light conversation on the way back. So Sai, where exactly do you stay? Yugito asked abruptly one day. With no emotion in her voice, Sai simply shrugged and replied, I am currently taking up residence in the old hidden compound of the Root. This made Naruto scowl a little and mutter, Root, to himself. That response did not sit well with Yugito. You like in that dank prison alone? Why not find an apartment? All of them are currently occupied already. Well, why not ask Uzumaki-kun for a room? You know, has an entire complex to himself, right? Naruto's head snapped to Yugito at this point. His tone was slightly annoyed. Don't volunteer me like that, he said. Go pack your stuff and choose a room by the end of the day, he said, turning to face Sai. Sai nodded, taken aback by Naruto's offer of a room following his comment to Yugito. Following his statement, Sai left. I shall be moved in within an hour, Uzumaki-san. Before launching himself into the air and returning home, Naruto turned to Yugito and grabbed her once more. The square rock exploded, exposing 3 gaping 9-year-old children, but none of them saw it. A girl with orange hair and rosy cheeks asked, "Was that him, Konohamaru-kun?" Konohamaru gave a nod. "Yeah, he's awesome, huh?" The glasses-wearing boy nodded and asked, "And that's why you want him to train us?" Konohamaru gave a nod. "Yeah, if we can get him to train us we can become the strongest kids in class easily, then eventually we can become as strong as the Hokage himself." With a smile, the 3 kids headed for Naruto's complex. "This is gonna be awesome." Yugito nestled into Naruto's chest, but Naruto paid little attention. All he could think about was getting home and into bed. As he flew through the air and toward his destination, the winds blew freely over his face and through his hair. He closed his eyes for a moment to savor the sensation as the steady hum of his wings filled his mind with its serene melody. Then he was startled out of it by a hand caressing his cheek. Yugito remarked, "You look so peaceful, Uzumaki-kun. I like that look," as she gently stroked his cheek. Just shrugging, Naruto remarked, "Up here is where I find true freedom." It was accurate. Most, if not all, humans yearned for the ability to fly. Very few people have really managed to do this. As one of these individuals, Naruto was completely aware of the gift he had been given. He loved it up in the sky, he had to tell himself. But for one straightforward reason, he would have preferred it by itself. Yugito's hand was starting to go in the wrong direction. She half-sleepily slurred, "Uzumaki-kun." Naruto's expression twisted into a mixture of embarrassment and annoyance, and he leapt to the ground. This abrupt descent jolted Yugito out of her reverie, and before she could question his intentions, she was abruptly flung to the ground. She started to say, "Hey," but stopped when she noticed Naruto was already a block away, walking down the street toward the complex. Then she jumped up and ran after him. "Why'd you drop me like that? I was comfortable." Despite his huff, Naruto would not turn around. He made a final remark before opening the door and entering. "Yeah, too comfortable." Then he vanished. With a sigh, Yugito trailed him inside. She was only a few seconds too late when she attempted to capture Naruto once more before he entered his room. Furthermore, prying would not open his door again. She snarled, "Oh, you're no fun, Uzumaki-kun," and led off. With an air of composure, Naruto took off his scarf and helmet as he entered the room. The faint flush on his cheeks was the only clue that anything was different. He dropped to his bed and took off his armor, muttering, "Damn Yugito, she's bolder than Yugo." He and Jeez found Yugo's incessant kisses and hugs on his forehead and neck to be bothersome enough. He closed his eyes and turned his head. He just wanted to sleep because he was exhausted. That was not to be, though, because as soon as he closed his eyes, his security puppets began to malfunction and warn him of potential intruders. He sighed in frustration as he could already hear the other residents of the puppet-guarded apartment complex hurrying towards the disturbance. He rose and made his way there at his usual pace. Running wasn't necessary. Before he arrived, the intruders would be dealt with. That is, unless a very strong adversary had infiltrated. However, he was almost taken aback by what he saw at the front door. The many ropes and wires intended to trap intruders also suspended Konohamaru and 2 other academy kids in midair, and the situation was the same for the other residents of the complex. The grandson of the Hokage blushed in embarrassment and said, "Hey, how you doing?" With a sigh, Neji went back inside. Yugito snickered as Hinata trailed behind him. Raising an eyebrow, Naruto looked at the 3 kids before speaking in a monotone, flat voice. "What do you want?" Naruto anticipated hearing a lot of responses from the kids. He anticipated irate shouts, requests for an apology, and fruitless pleas for their lives. But he and the others were taken aback by their response. With a tone of sincerity, Konohamaru asked, "Will you train us, Naruto, boss?" Immediately bursting into hysterical laughter, Yugito collapsed in a fit, unable to contain her laughter. Naruto responded to this in one way. "What? Train us?" exclaimed Konohamaru, beaming broadly. "I've never met anyone like you, and you can fly. You're awesome, man. You gotta train us. We'll make you proud, I promise. We'll never slack off or anything." "What?" Yugito looked at her with a twitching eyebrow as his laughter grew louder. The Nibi Jinchuriki glared and laughed, then turned and left, saying, "Leave if you're going to be an idiot." "Sure thing, Uzumaki. Sensei, ha 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 ha." She disappeared around a corner in time to avoid the katana piercing the wall where her head would have been and the many shuriken. His expression was one of annoyance as he turned back to the three kids. The kids were unceremoniously dropped in a heap after being freed by a few finger movements on the ropes and wires. After a few seconds of moaning, they clambered to their feet and stood at attention. "Names?" the blonde inquired. The first to react was the girl, who leapt in front of the two boys and posed. "I'm Konoha's sexiest kunoichi, Moegi." The glasses. Wearing snot. Noseboy leapt to Moegi's left and also posed. "I'm Undon and I love math." Konohamaru simply stood smiling. "You already know who I am." Together, they exclaimed, "We're the Konohamaru." Naruto swore he heard a few chuckles from Neji and Hinata, and he was vaguely aware that Yugito's laughter had effectively doubled. He looked at the three kids and felt his irritation rising once more. He said, "Leave," and turned to go back inside. As Naruto shut the door in their faces, the three kids felt a massive arrow pierce their souls. Saying, "Damn that one cold ninja," Konohamaru continued. "I think I actually felt ice on my shoulders from that one." Moegi gave a small pout as she nodded, but Konohamaru's smile came back before she could respond. With his two friends following him, he said, "That's okay though. You'll come around, Naruto. I won't rest until you train us," and took off, and the three kids paid no attention to the villagers' looks. Naruto sighed inside and made his way back to his room. "My week just got worse." And it was accurate. For the next week, Naruto was overcome by an emotion he hadn't experienced since he was 10 years old. Ominous. As the three kids had come to refer to themselves, the Kono Corps appeared everywhere. They seemed to have an amazing spy network of their own in the village. Even though the rest of Konoha made a pitiful attempt to suck up to the Hokage by kissing Konohamaru's ass, he refused to accept how true that was. They showed up everywhere he went and ambushed him at every turn. Additionally, he found it difficult to distinguish them from the other nearby civilian villagers due to their extremely limited chakra reserves. Naruto was outside his complex every single minute of every day. Their high, childish voices were always ringing in his ears, like a stench that would never go away. "Train us, come on, train us. You're aware that you want to. Come on, consider the implications. You won't find better pupils. Come on, boss." Several villagers gasped when they tried to tackle him once, as he was making his way to one of the village's two weapon shops that didn't mock him, and they almost lost their heads to his blade. They attempted to enter the complex again on the second day, but were hospitalized for the remainder of the day because of the extremely deadly poisons in the kunai knives that had sprayed them. Naruto had to convince Sarutobi to give him the antidote. They started following him around wherever he went on the third day in an attempt to trap him, and they were partially successful when Undon came out of his disguise against a fence, causing Naruto to glance over with annoyance. They missed the other two until they had successfully trapped him with ninja wire for 3 seconds, before Fox Naruto released him and attempted to murder the kids. They publicly assaulted him with training kunai on the fourth day, throwing them at the puppet user 6 at a time, causing Naruto to catch each one with chakra strings and throw them back. If they hadn't been blunted, they would have ripped right through the kids. On the fifth day, the three pretended to be a square rock and followed him around, stealthily, until Naruto finally snarled and slammed his earth rune glow hammer into the ground, almost crushing them and many villagers with the resulting ground wave. Furthermore, it didn't help that Yugito, Yugo, Suichi, and even Neji had started referring to him as Sensei. On the sixth day, there were paint bombs that exploded in a large graphitized sign that read, "You will train US," and that was the final straw that prevented them from dying for good. High above Konoha, way up there where nothing could reach him, he took to the skies. Up until the seventh day. At last, he gave in at that point. Train the Kono Corps Naruto is the message that any child who manages to get the Anbu Tenzo to grow among the trees should take away. In the forest, so he was forced to read it from above. It was clear that they should have been spoken to at least once before he turned them away for the 10th time that week. In order to wait, he flew to the closest training ground. Indeed. "Hey, I see you gave up, don't you?" If Fox Naruto hadn't materialized in a cloud of smoke and grabbed the boy's throat with its Zanbatsu, Konohamaru would have moved forward. "I knew you would change your mind. The only thing I'm considering changing my mind on is whether or not I should kill your annoying ass." The three kids stared in awe at the doll as Naruto sighed and pushed the puppet back to his side, where it stood almost protectively, while Konohamaru shivered and laughed nervously. Moegi remarked, "That's incredible, it's really lovely. This puppet is unlike any I've ever seen." The other two agreed. Naruto watched the three children as they examined the puppet with nothing but the purest of wonder and curiosity and couldn't help himself. With a bit of blood over the seals on his arm, the rest of his puppets save for the root appeared in puffs of smoke. Oni Tenshi towered above the children and seemed to eclipse the sun as it spread its massive black wing and waved its tentacles. Yoshino looked to be truly alive, standing serenely next to the massive one-winged puppet with her eyes closed. Danzo stood with his rope spear dancing about like a snake ready to strike, and Mizuki stood with arms crossed and tiger ears flicking to and fro like he was actually hearing things. Then there were his two newest additions. Zabuza stood there tall and imposing, dressed in a cloak and shouldering the Kabikari Hucho. The blade was glowing with the runes for water and for wind, and the cloak glowed with shadow runes. He looked like a wraith. A very special puppet Zabuza would prove to be in the future. Haku stood there next to Zabuza, slightly behind him, a cold mist spiraling around him slowly and calmly, waiting to be used. An ice mirror formed behind him and reflected the sun brilliantly. The three kids felt their respect for Naruto grow to unprecedented heights. Wow! Children watched for hours as Haku created ice sculptures, Zabuza blended with the shadows, Danzo and Oni Tenshi appeared to converse, and Mizuki attempted to approach Yoshino but was slapped. Naruto also performed a few finger movements and had his puppets perform a few actions related to their abilities. As time passed, Naruto became increasingly involved, allowing his puppets to perform a variety of tasks to the delight of the kids, including reenacting battles, having them spar, and even having Yoshino plant a kiss on Konohamaru's cheek. The Kono Corps were disappointed but ecstatic, having never had such a wonderful day with anyone, and Naruto finally woke up as the sun was setting and resealed his puppets. The puppeteer stood up and said, "Explain to me," while the three kids watched intently. "Why me? Why would you risk your life to find me? Why not request training from another ninja? Are you just interested in learning the puppet technique?" He'd heard enough people say it enough times to know that no child was crazy enough to deliberately use Kyuubi Jinchuriki of Konoha to drive the easily enraged and bloodthirsty puppet without some sort of good reason other than training, and no child wanted to learn to play with dolls anyway. Keeping his blue eyes fixed on the three kids, he eyed them with a detached, emotionless gaze to make sure he didn't catch any signs of dishonesty or hidden agendas. It was Konohamaru who spoke first, because, "You're different." Whoa. He certainly wasn't expecting that response. Because he's different. Ha! What irony! If it were in his nature to laugh, he would have done so, but instead he scowled a little. "Are you aware of my identity?" he asked without showing any emotion, and neither Konohamaru nor Moegi or Undan had a response. Sighing, the blonde said, "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. Special Op Nin of Konohagakure no Sato is my rank. I will soon be the world's most powerful puppeteer. I detest more than 3/4 of this village, and I have no qualms about murdering anyone who even gives me a bad look, and that includes obnoxious kids." They swallowed. "I don't have a good reputation here. Your teacher must have told you that, right?" Glaring, Konohamaru said, "That sap? He only discusses giving me a shortcut to the Hokage position. He kisses people like an ass. All of them are. However, you." Naruto's eyebrow went up. "You're unique. You handled me the same way you would have any other spoiled child. You're tough and won't be kind to me. I want you to train us because of this." His thirst for recognition, a new identity, and a desperate attempt to shed his grandfather's shadow made Naruto see right through the boy's mask at once. Naturally, he would latch onto the only person besides his grandfather who could see him as a real child and not just a title. How unique for a boy with royalty like his. He looked at all three of them, and they were so pure, so innocent. Their large eyes seemed to glow as they stared, hope shining just beneath the surface of their retinas. However, he simply knew that they had no idea what they were getting themselves into, and that training with him would wipe out their innocence in a matter of days. Naruto was never one to sugarcoat things, and his training would teach them all the dark truths about the world. Were they prepared for that? Maybe not, but he wasn't completely prepared to learn about the Kyuubi while being thrashed, either. Nevertheless, he had grown stronger as a result. He took another look at the kids and, with a hint of amusement, saw the expressions of impatience starting to appear on their faces. He let out a sigh, knowing that this situation would not end. Fine. There was nothing more to say. Yada. Change of scene. With a duffel bag slung over one shoulder and a large sketch pad over the other, Sai stood in front of the complex, thinking deeply. He wasn't used to living in such an open space. The route corridors were all he knew. He was also unable to recognize the emotion that erupted when Yugito stepped outside and exclaimed, "Hey, it's about time that your pale ass arrived. Enter and select a room." She laughed and said, "I don't know where Uzumaki-kun went." He's probably running from those 3 kids. Before Sai could say anything, he was dragged into the complex, noting in his mind that the security puppets hadn't attacked him. Naruto. San must shave programmed me in already. Yugito continued to drag the boy through the complex, saying, "Come on, I'll introduce you to Neji and Hinata." Days passed, and Naruto fulfilled his promise by teaching the kids the fundamentals of human anatomy, poisons, and chakra control. The 3 eagerly absorbed the knowledge in their never-ending efforts to impress their new teacher, and many of them had plenty to say about the honorable grandson and 2 other young kids openly following the blonde Jinchuriki around the village, calling him sensei and boss. However, they were tactful enough to say it in private. Because he comes from a ninja-oriented family, Konohamaru handled all of this better than the other 2. Naruto proved to be a brutal teacher to Konohamaru, Moegi, and Undon. Some of the things he told them were honestly terrifying. The way he explained how a ninja could kill another person made Moegi go pale and Undon shudder. In fact, Naruto was somewhat impressed when the kids kept training under him. He hadn't anticipated that they would stick with him this long. In fact, he had assumed that after the first day they would flee, screaming and calling him a sick freak, but they kept returning, which forced him to work harder at training them. "So, Naruto. Sensei, what are we learning today? Your chakra control still needs improvement," he said, adding, "So I will teach you to walk on water using your chakra." Moegi and the other 2 kids followed him through the village on their way to the academy, and while many villagers glared at Naruto's back as the small group passed them, the blonde chose to ignore them. The 3 kids smiled. He had previously taught them the exercises of leaf floating and tree walking, which the 3 of them had mastered remarkably quickly for their age. As Konohamaru calmly walked sideways on the buildings while still following Naruto, many ninja were actually gaping. "Really, awesome," Konohamaru exclaimed, pumping his fist. Undon simply grinned. With a nod, Naruto accelerated the pace a little. "Hurry up. The hot springs are right up the street," he replied. With a collective, "Hi." The 3 kids started jogging to catch up to him. They all failed to notice the ninja frowning in the shadows. Determined to save the 3 children, he followed them and said, "So that's where the honorable grandson has been, ensnared by the filthy demon's false persona." Naruto arrived at the hot springs with the kids in a very short amount of time, and he turned to face them. "Now then," he said, directing his chakra to his feet before making his way directly to the middle of the steaming water. In order to successfully do this, you must keep a steady flow of chakra in your feet. Use the chakra to create a platform on the water while at the same time fusing it with the water and forcing the water itself to become strong enough to support your weight. Too little chakra and you will sink. With eager smiles and full attention, the 3 kids nodded. After a minute of staring at them, Naruto gave them a slight scowl. "Well, get to it." "Oh, alright." Moegi blushed in embarrassment. As the 3 got closer to the water, Naruto nodded and leapt to a small bridge, where he sat and watched. "Ah. Hot. Hot. Hot." Naruto managed to conceal his laughter as Konohamaru frantically clambered out of the water. He ordered Konohamaru to concentrate more chakra as he made his way back to the water. As the day went on, the Kono core improved steadily and quickly, and Naruto was not at all surprised. These 3 kids had a talent that was just waiting to be discovered, and he was actually a little impressed with them. They had shown themselves to be very devoted, and they completed everything he asked of them without complaining at all. He finally called them over as the sun was starting to set, and he thought it was strange that he was actually looking into the hopeful eyes of 3 kids. This was much more than he had ever experienced. Sure, there were the few women and girls who had suddenly become interested in him, and there were the few men he had unintentionally made friends with in the previous few months, but it was still strange to think that there were kids who were genuinely hoping for his approval and his praise. "Not bad," he said, "you're actually picking it up faster than I did." The 3 of them smiled at him, and he couldn't help but smile a little. "But you still have a bit to go," he said. "I'll then show you how to create chakra strings once you've mastered that." The 3 would have jumped with delight, but Naruto's stern expression made them think twice, though they still grinned. "Now proceed. Till tomorrow, study at your own speed. By then, I want you to be able to name every bone in the body." "Hello." Before jumping to their feet, they exclaimed, "See ya tomorrow, Naruto." "Sensei." They vanished after that. Naruto grinned once more and said, "Ambitious brats," as he spread his wings and got ready to launch himself into the air. "I hope you now understand, Ebisu-san, that I will not hurt them. I am more than your well-known demon." A second later, Ebisu emerged with a faint glare but also an intrigued expression, and for the first time, he began to question his feelings for Naruto. He then leapt into the air with remarkable speed. Shuichi knocked on Naruto's front door 2 months later, saying, "Man, let the air in, damn it, I know you can hear me." Before the door opened and Yugito was visible, there was a brief rustle of clothing. "Are you unaware of how early it is? This is where people are attempting to sleep." Shuichi wheeled himself in, ignoring the girl. He drew the sitar from behind his back and thrust it forward after saying, "Hey Naruto. Ya mind explaining to me why I found this on my porch?" The issue was that he had thrust the weapon at Neji, not Naruto, and he appeared to be just as irritated as Yugito. As he yawned and wiped sleep from his eyes, he growled, "Why must you be so damn loud, you obnoxious simpleton?" Shuichi scowled. He remarked, "Up yours ass wipe." Neji simply let out a sigh and went to fetch a cup of tea from the kitchen. Yugito sighed after glancing at Shuichi's weapon. She understood the purpose of this. She had overheard Naruto discussing it with himself. "Uzumaki-kun isn't here right now, he's out with those 3 kids." The response from Shuichi was, "At 8 in the morning. Yes, and on a Saturday, when normal people are trying to sleep." With a growl, Shuichi put the weapon back on the back of his chair. "You tell him I want to see him, got it?" Yugito gave a shrug. Before the boy could respond, Yugito wheeled him back outside and shut the door. All right, don't get your panties in a knot." "God damn it." Yugito went inside and collapsed on the closest couch. She uttered the words, "Damn loud mouths," before closing her eyes and fainting. Standing at a training ground with Konohamaru, Moegi, and Undan, Naruto was oblivious to Shuichi's predicament. He watched as the 3 of them extended their arms and wriggled their fingers, causing the chakra strings that protruded from their tips to wave about like snakes. Naruto said, "Good," and all 3 of the kids grinned widely. All 3 of them had been very productive over the past 2 months. Konohamaru, Moegi, and Undan had highly developed chakra control and were more knowledgeable about the human body than most people. Some Chunin were incapable of even performing their abilities. Additionally, Naruto's rune knowledge was developing quite quickly. He was progressing to more complex material after having long since mastered the fundamental 9. Such as additional defense runes, speed, enhancing runes, and even a rune designed to keep a blade sharp forever. These runes, of course, were among the many weapons his puppets wielded. Even though it was generally a good thing to know that a powerful ninja was assisting in the development of more powerful ninjas, there were mixed reactions in Naruto's case. Word had also spread throughout the village that he was teaching his arts to the honorable grandson and 2 others. In general, many were pleased to learn that the boy was becoming more forthcoming. However, there were a lot of absurd rumors about how Naruto actually started training the kids. Some people were still ignorant and had developed some genuinely criminal and completely insane theories, but others were aware of the truth. Then there was the fact that everyone was afraid Naruto would teach the kids that he also used the poor saps he killed to make his puppets. Naruto had given that some thought, but changed his mind. Maybe when they were older. He nodded in agreement as he observed the 3 kids playing with their chakra strings. The 3 had made great progress. "Here," he said, tossing them a frayed scroll. "This will begin you on your path to the art of puppetry. Keep that scroll safe and study hard from it." After looking over the scroll, Konohamaru read the title and grinned broadly. In his own words, "Thank you sensei." Undan and Moegi also grinned. "We won't let you down." Without giving much thought to whether they met his expectations or not, Naruto nodded. Since he had very few standards himself, he wasn't one to needlessly depress a child over something as trivial as standards. After all, they were their own people. The Kyuubi was always excited to teach Naruto about runes, so the 3 kids started studying the scroll right away, while Naruto just sat and pondered. After all, Naruto was getting closer to freedom from the seal the quicker he learned them. Change of scene. Yugo hurried home after turning in her report to the Hokage. She needed a bath badly after being on a mission for almost 2 weeks. In addition, she was eager to see Naruto once more. She hoped Yugito, the seductress, had not done anything during her absence. She was aware that Naruto was almost impervious to the love of a person of the other sex, but that didn't eliminate the possibility that he might give in, particularly to someone like Yugito, a fellow demon container who was very forthright about her intentions for Naruto. When someone called out to the purple-haired woman, she was 3/4 of the way home. A woman nearly let out a groan, but suppressed it and turned around. "Hey you. Chan, long time no see," she said. She said, "Hey there, Enko, how have you been?" Change of scene. Naruto swiftly rose to prominence later in the day. There were many faces in the village that he was unfamiliar with, and he nearly froze in shock when a pretty young foreign woman gave him a warm smile. Konohamaru looked up momentarily from the scroll he and his friends were reading and said, "Hey, what's wrong, boss?" Ignoring the boy, Naruto kept scanning his surroundings. Numerous new faces were present. Before it all returned to him, he pondered for a moment what was happening. "Hey," he said. Then he looked up at the sky and said, "It's that time already." It was about midday. The village was being battered by the sun, which was at its zenith in the sky. Thus, the Chunin examinations were said to start. Maybe he should come in and start working for Hokage. Gigi. When two individuals appeared around the corner in front of him, he was startled out of his reverie, when he first saw Naruto and his three apprentices, the raven-haired Uchiha smirked teasingly, but he refrained from saying anything more than greeting them. Uchiha fashion. He nodded. "Uzumaki," he said. The answer was, "Uchiha," from Naruto. Then, shyly, he fixed his gaze on the girl half hidden behind Sasuke, Haruno. Hi, Naruto," she opened her mouth. For Sakura, the past few months had been a significant test. Her mother detested Naruto, and she was terrified of him. But Sasuke and a few other people were friends with Blonde. She had heard conflicting rumors about him from those who had been around. She was aware of his demon. At this point, everyone did as Naruto said it without a care in the world, and despite being somewhat emotionless and icy, Naruto wasn't all that horrible. He was incredibly talented and appeared to enjoy being with his small group of allies. She was aware that he was the one who had inspired Hanabi and her crush to train so hard and acquire power that was out of character for someone of their rank and age. Additionally, she was prepared to assert that Naruto was more powerful than Sasuke. It is not something that fangirls readily embrace. Additionally, he earned some points for not killing her when they first met. Being the daughter of a council member, she should have been a prime target because she knew Naruto was itching for council blood and that saying the wrong thing could easily result in death. However, he usually left her alone, even flashing a quick smile of amusement whenever she showed interest in Sasuke. She still felt threatened by him, though, and went to Sasuke for solace, cowering behind him like a small child. She couldn't help it, even though she thought it was pitiful. "Still training, I see?" the Uchiha inquired, turning back to face the three kids who chose to ignore him and continue reading the scroll. Naruto remained silent. He simply nodded and pointed to the three. They're persistent, but gifted as well. Sasuke gave a nod. Like many others, he had witnessed the three kids following Naruto, running across water, walking on walls, and playing practical jokes on the gullible villagers by applying their newly acquired knowledge of the human body. They were talented. He could see that, too. After another minute of observing Sasuke and Sakura, Naruto said, "Where's Hanabi? I figured you three would be getting ready for the Chunin exams." Sasuke glanced up thoughtfully. Perhaps that's the reason Kakashi told us to meet him in an hour. But I haven't seen Hanabi today. Maybe she's at home practicing her cadence." Naruto gave a nod of agreement. Because she was younger than everyone else and felt she had something to prove, Hanabi spent more time practicing her special moves than the others. Konohamaru inquired, "Who's Hanabi?" That name had a faintly familiar sound. He saw Sakura and Sasuke at that moment. "And who's the pink-haired babe with the big ugly forehead and flat chest?" As Sakura appeared to teleport towards Konohamaru, Sasuke actually started to perspire. "You little shit," she screamed, raising her fist. Gulping, Konohamaru turned to Naruto for assistance, but he gasped when he noticed the blonde had already started to leave. He shouted, "Sensei, you traitor," and then took off, Sakura following closely behind. Undan and Moegi also perspired. "He's so impulsive," the young girl remarked. Naruto was about to reply when he heard Sakura tell someone to put him down, followed by a "oof" and a "watch where you're going, ya little brat." Sasuke and Naruto disappeared without a word, leaving the other two kids to catch up. As the young man in front of her lifted Konohamaru by the front of his scarf, Sakura gave him a fierce glare. "Little punk, smacking me like that. Looks like someone needs to teach you a little lesson in manners." His fist went up. Sakura's scowl intensified. The young man didn't do that. "Hey, we already apologized, you big bully, so put him down." All he did was scoff and knock his down. A rock encircled by flames smashed into the young man's wrist, causing him to scream in agony. What the hell was that?" He let go of Konohamaru, who rushed to Sakura right away. "I wouldn't mess with that one if I were you, Suna Nin." Turning their heads to the left, He and the young woman he was with saw Sasuke staring down at them with pure hatred in his eyes. She thought, whoa, local hottie. The young man rubbed his fist and scoffed once more. Oh, and why not pretty boy? With a sly smile, Sasuke leapt to the ground, because you could end up dead. The bundle on the Suna boy's back then came to life before he could react. The poor sap was tightly embraced by four-bladed arms that exploded from the bandages, slicing deep gashes into his body and spilling blood onto the floor. Both Sakura and the Suna girl gasped. W.Wa. The voice that said, "Come such a basic puppet," made them shudder. The young man's breath was cut off as the puppet tightened its grip. Show yourself. The girl cried. She thought a lot of people would come out of the darkness. She already had an image in her mind. With a single finger pointing towards the Suna nin and a chakra string attached to her brother's puppet from his finger, a younger man of about 12 years old suddenly appeared and stared into her eyes with cold voids swimming with ruthless intentions. Impossible, she exclaimed as the blonde drew closer. Both the blonde's appearance and the Suna nin's difficulties grew more intense. He severed the chakra from his finger, releasing the puppet and the young man. I suggest you watch how you act while in this village. This is the only time I will warn you. He then turned away, with the other Konoha residents trailing behind him. Suna ninjas here for the Chunin exams, no doubt. After sending a final smirk over his shoulder, they vanished, leaving 2 Suna genin in disbelief and 1 truly shocked. When the girl recovered enough, she went to her injured brother, who was lying on his back and staring up in disbelief. He knew the puppet technique. Tamari, who was he? Was all he could say. The girl gave a headshake. I don't know. The reed head smiled savagely up in the trees. Perhaps he can give me a challenge. Although Naruto was unaware of it at the time, this marked the start of his ascent to fame. Naruto returned to his complex with Moegi, Konohamaru, and Undan shortly after his encounter with the Suna genin. Yugo was gone, either on a mission for Hokage, Gigi, or possibly preparing for her own Chunin exams and the responsibilities that go along with them. Neji and Hanabi were gone, and so was Hinata. And at some point during the journey back to his home, Sasuke had wandered off, Sakura trailing closely behind. And where in the world was Yugito? Other than helping Naruto move into his puppet guarded apartment complex turned tiny mansion, it's not like she had many friends. After all, she wasn't very popular. He looked at the trio of brats in front of him. He had long since accepted the fact that he was the sensei of these kids, and he had programmed his puppets and seals to avoid flaying them when they appeared. Naturally, this gave them access to the many weapons, supplies, and other random objects that Naruto and his roommates had accumulated throughout their lives and ninja careers. And there are so many puppet parts. Additionally, they had never ventured outside of the front hallway before. With the words, "Try not to kill yourselves. I will be back later," he led them to the dojo and let them loose. The 3 brats yelled enthusiastically, "Hi sensei!" As he turned and left. For the first time, their eyes were wide with excitement as they looked around the area. After years of dangerous struggle and other hardships, one would have believed that a lifelong dream had been realized if they had seen their faces. Then they smiled. Freakin' jackpot. His mind wandered aimlessly back to the Suna trio as he traveled. Yes, let's not deceive anyone. He was aware that there were 3 individuals present. The size of that redhead's chakra made it nearly impossible to avoid seeing his ass there while he was trying to be very covert. He wasn't as well hidden as those 3 nin with the music note headband. In any case, he wasn't concerned about that. In fact, it was the redhead's face that bothered him a little. In fact, there was something eerily familiar about him. He simply was unable to identify it. He shrugged, put the redhead out of his mind for a while, adjusted his scarf, and left his house. Naruto. San. Sai waved and Fake smiled, totally unaware of the reflexive senbon needle that Naruto had almost stabbed into his jugular. There you are. I believe Suichi. San was looking for you. That's correct, Suichi. He has yet another task on his list for today. He shrugged after flexing his fingers a few times. He spread his wings and got ready to soar, saying, I'll see to him now. Wait, Hokage. Sama was looking for you as well. I believe he wants to brief us on our duties. Unaware of the attention he had received for such a simple act, Naruto shot Sai a flat, emotionless glance before taking off for the Hokage tower. The visiting ninja who happened to spot him displayed a variety of expressions of surprise, awe, and shock. Holy shit, did you see that guy? He freaking flew? Like a bird? Who the hell was he? Is he entering the Chunin exams as well? What's with the hornet motif? He part of that clan from Iwa. Before drawing out his scroll and ink, Sai's mouth corner briefly twitched upwards as he experienced a faint wave of an emotion he was still unable to pinpoint. Hokage. Sama would also like to see him. He summoned his standard eagle and flew in the direction of the Hokage tower, disregarding the gaping and the new wave of whispers. Change of scene. Hanabi entered a training area by herself, grinned slightly, and took out a scroll after removing one of the Demon Brothers' clawed gauntlets from the strap around her waist. Although she strongly doubted it, Naruto. Sama was probably not aware of this, but she was actually quite skilled at sealing scrolls. Even before the whole Root controversy and her father's exile from the Hyuga, she had actually started learning about them soon after she met Naruto. Anyone watching the girl would have been somewhat taken aback when she unrolled the scroll, bit her finger, and smeared the blood over the seal while murmuring, "Kai." And when three things materialized in a cloud of smoke, it would be an even greater surprise. They were practical things. On her way back from Wave, she was picked up without her fellows noticing. She was eager to introduce Naruto. Sama. It was going to be fantastic, even though the things required extensive repairs and she wouldn't be able to display them for some time. She grinned. Sasuke was distracted, too, pondering while leaning on his futon. In fact, he was a little excited. He was certain that Kakashi would enter him for the upcoming Chunin exams. For a moment, he focused on the girl with the pink hair, whom he let follow him everywhere. With wide eyes, she was inspecting his house, undoubtedly being tormented by thoughts of amazement at the possibility of being permitted to enter his room. He gave a little mental laugh. Several months ago, he would have dismissed this girl as a waste of room, unworthy of her ninja career, and pitiful. However, that was before she established herself as a noteworthy individual. Because she accepted Naruto, she also accepted the others. She had a strong will and an open mind. And with his surprisingly willing assistance, she was improving at a pretty impressive rate, despite what many people might believe. She also benefited from her determination to avoid being shown up by a brat like Hanabi. Additionally, it was quite pleasant to have someone rely on him in the same manner as those brats did on Naruto. He felt somewhat more on par with Naruto as a result. Sasuke grinned. Naruto was someone to aspire to. He was prepared to acknowledge that fact. The most compelling evidence of this was Naruto's power. Whether it was through techniques or devoted allies, Naruto gained new powers from everything he did. He would use the same strategies. Itachi was foolish to think that hatred and retaliation are the only ways to gain power, and he had been foolish to think so. To avoid any confusion, when that final battle finally arrived, Itachi was completely screwed. He cared a great deal about getting his revenge, and when the time was right, a good deal of hate would be unleashed. Sasuke would simply approach the steps leading up to that final murder in a different manner, one that did not leave him a hollow shell of the person he once was. He stood and said to Sakura, "Come on," concluding for the moment his day's contemplation. "Let's go locate our teammate. Training waits for no one." When she shuddered and nodded meekly, he concealed his smile with the professional actor's skill. The day went on. Kurenai, Asuma, and Kakashi did sign up their team to take the Chunin exams. When Yugito and Naruto first met, she threw herself at the puppet user and clung to him, nuzzling his cheek and purring like a cat. She cried, "Uzumaki-kun, I missed you," and gave him another hug. With a sigh, Naruto took the Nibi Jinchuriki off his person and stood in front of Sarutobi. "Hokage. Gigi," he said, holding Yugito away from him in an irritated tone. The Hokage laughed out loud. "Hello Naruto. It's been a bit of time since we last talked. Naruto shrugged and smiled just a little bit. He remarked, "We're busy people." It made the Hokage laugh. "So I hear from my grandson." Naruto glared at Yugito as she snickered. "Anyway," Sarutobi added, his tone returning to seriousness. "I suppose I should give you a bit of a brief of your upcoming duties for the exams then." Sai also appeared more serious than usual. Yugito stood at attention, and Naruto's only discernible change was a slight shift in his posture. The Hokage laced his fingers and started talking again, eyeing all three of them with something like fondness. "Well, first know that your services won't even be absolutely needed until the third part of the Chunin exams, where you will act as my personal guard, though I do want you to keep an eye out for any trouble in the village. There will be several well-known people from other countries here, both allies and hostiles. Just be sure to keep them in line and be ready any time, as I may need your assistance." Naruto and Yugito both appeared shocked, and Sai's eyes slightly widened. It made the Hokage laugh. "Hey, no need to be so surprised. Surely the rank, Special Op, meant more than you thought? Your rank signifies your status in my eyes as well as your power and prestige. I alone have the power to tell you what to do. Until then you are free to do as you wish as long as you do not endanger the village. Sai and Yugito appeared even more astonished. They had only a vague notion of the benefits that came with this rank, which they had accepted from the Hokage. They were unaware that it brought so much. Yugito said, I don't understand, at first. I am, or was a Kumo Nin, an assassin sent to kill one of your most powerful shinobi. I'm not even all that loyal to Konoha, just to Uzumaki. Kun, how can you so easily throw out such trust? Sai interrupted the Hokage as he started to speak, and I was a part of faction that was less than loyal to you personally. I cannot comprehend this. It made the Hokage laugh. He started, it's quite simple, Naruto trusts you. There was nothing more to say. With that straightforward statement, the question was immediately addressed. Yugito and Sai were both taken aback and chose to gaze at the blonde puppeteer. Even Naruto was taken aback by those two words and the intense emotion they contained. This was unexpected, and even though he should have, he most definitely didn't anticipate Yugito lunging at him and attempting to press her lips against his. His quick reflexes prevented him from being raped in the mouth, but they did not prevent the attractive young lady from tackling him to the ground. At this point, Yugo made the decision to come out, appearing somewhat inebriated. Hokage. Sama, Azuki Yugo reporting fro. What the hell are you doing to Naru? Kun, get off of him. The secretary was startled by the sudden onset of a catfight that spilled into the hallway, causing Naruto to growl, Sarutobi to laugh, and Sai to unintentionally chuckle. This caused his mind to explode with a million questions. It appears that the young man will soon be studying emotions and feelings in greater detail. When Naruto opened Haku's seal and froze the quarreling Kunoichi in ice from the neck down, his thoughts were interrupted. He muttered, damn females, and stalked away, leaving the two girls to glare at him and then at one another. Change of scene. When Hanabi opened the dojo door, she was startled by what she saw. As he looked up from the stack of weapons, wooden components, and poisons that had accumulated in front of him and his two companions, Konohamaru asked, who are you? Then he saw the gauntlet of claws that covered her right arm and his eyes widened. Oh wow, where'd y'all get that? It's awesome. The young Hyuga's body stiffened and her eyes narrowed dangerously. She started, who are you? How did you get here? Intruders aren't usually this skilled in infiltration. Naruto. Sama's traps should have killed 3 weaklings like you. Immediately, the other 3 kids stood up, appearing to be offended. Oi, first of all, we didn't sneak in, Naruto. Sensei let us in. Second of all, you don't even know us. Who are you calling weak? Moegi also scowled. Hanabi laughed. What, Naruto? Sama is your sensei. Do you think I'm stupid or something? You must be if you don't know that. We've been his students for like 2.5 months, said Moegi. In order to highlight this point, Konohamaru created a few chakra strings that tripped the Hyuga and caused her to land on her ass. Ha! Who's weak now, Chibi? Baka? Hanabi became enraged. She launched herself at Konohamaru with an adorable little roar. Her eerie gauntlet appeared to shine with unearthly darkness. Die. Change of scene. Once thawed by a still, amused Hokage, Yugo delivered her report and immediately left for home, this time avoiding any distractions. She was determined to get home, take a shower, and go to bed regardless of the girl's name being so obnoxious. What the hell are you staring at, cat bitch? Okay, so the previous assessment was incorrect. Yugito just gave a shrug. Not much, though I do have to wonder why. What are you, like 23? Anyway, I'm wondering why someone your age wants a person as young as Uzumaki. Kun. Are you such a loser that no one around your own age wants you or something? Oh no, she simply didn't. There was an audible crack as Yugo's head quickly turned to face Yugito. She asked, say that again? In a voice that caused the villagers they were passing to inadvertently get wet and flee. Yugito crossed her hands behind her head and her smile turned into a patronizing expression. Well, I'm just saying. You're a grown woman. Uzumaki. Kun is 13? Yugo frowned in response, fighting the impulse to chop off this Jinchuriki's head. First of all, I'm only 19, retard, and second of all, aren't you older than him too? Yugo gave a shrug. I'm 16, not someone way older. I'm closer to his age, so, she laughed, yeah. Yugo frowned. Before Yugito could respond, she shunned off, saying, it's none of your business or your concern who I desire. Yugo left as soon as she could to avoid spilling blood because she was too exhausted and inebriated to handle the antics of that enraged blonde former Kumo Kunoichi. Change of scene. Shuichi glared as soon as he saw Naruto when he opened the door. Well, look who it is. Just who I wanted to. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Even as Naruto grabbed Red Head, lifted him over his shoulder, and walked with him to the living room, his voice rang out, a little irritated but still largely emotionless. His statement, "Your paralysis, I'm ending it," caused Shuichi's eyes to enlarge in surprise. Wah. What the hell? Since when can you even do that? Hey, damn it Naruto, put me the hell down, he exclaimed. Sighing, the blonde puppeteer said. He tore Shuichi's shirt from him and took out a variety of tools, inks, brushes, and medical supplies. Shut up. Yes, I can fix your back. I've been working on a way to heal you since that day we fought Danzo and his minions. Now hold still. Shuichi let out a gasp. Hey, wait a minute man. Hey, damn it Naruto, shit, Lego of me. I never even said I want to walk again. That's why I gave you the sitar. Naruto let out a sigh. That weapon is suited for you and you alone and you're going to use it. Now shut up. This discussion is over. It appeared that Naruto was still a little irritated by his previous encounter with Yugito and Yugo. Damn it Naruto. Change of scene. With their backs firmly against the wall, Moegi and Undon gazed, enthralled with the chaos erupting in front of them. The two kids had been genuinely frightened by the intensity of the battle between Konohamaru and Hanabi. Initially, they were unaware that a Hanabi girl of her age could possess such strength. Although the girl was clearly no older than they were, her skills were completely different. This girl was stronger than Chunin, as Moegi herself had witnessed. And the elemental powers. What on earth? At this age, who even possesses the chakra required for such advanced skills? Konohamaru then made the decision to surprise her by using his own abilities. As he jumped up and affixed himself to the ceiling corner, avoiding the hail of shuriken, Konohamaru exclaimed, Missed me, Chibi. Baka? And smiled down at the scowling white-eyed girl. With his arms folded and his fingers pointing outward, he had a chakra string on each finger and a kunai at the end of each string. The 10 weapons stood around him, seemingly poised to attack. She snarled, Cretin, and he flexed his claws at her gauntlet before launching himself at him up the wall. In response, Konohamaru lunged at her. He was violently thrown to the ground as she ducked to the right and slammed her shoulder into his chest. A second later, he rolled sideways, just avoiding Hanabi as she slammed into the ground, claws first. In order to avoid his chakra controlled projectile weapons, she had to roll to the right after snarling and launching her attack. The dojo was now a shambles of devastation, with slashes in the wall, distorted earth, and craters and scorch marks all over the place. The two kids fought back and forth, losing each time. The girl cried out, Kaden, as Konohamaru hurled all 10 of his kunai in her direction. Several explosive tags were thrown around as Konohamaru leapt to his feet as the weapons bounced off the chakra dome. The tags exploded, knocking Hanabi off her feet in mid-spin, but she was able to block the 3 kunai that were thrown at her thanks to her Byakugan. However, these were closely followed by a shuriken hailstorm. She snarled and spun around once more. Fuden, Kaden K's. Moegi and Undon barely escaped behind a piece of overturned floor before the wind struck them, but it didn't really matter because the wood was destroyed by the attack and slammed into them, smashing them into the wall. Wind and chakra exploded off her and spread out in all directions. She gasped as she was yanked forward and into Konohamaru a second after said boy struck the wall, but Konohamaru did not fare much better, but he did manage to wrap his strings around her just before the wind slammed into him, looking her up and snagging her along for the ride. In a tangled mass of ragged clothes and tired limbs, they collapsed to the ground. For several minutes, they just lay there, breathing heavily, staring into each other's eyes, until Konohamaru finally smiled. After exerting some effort, he moved away from Hanabi and leaned his back against the wall, while Hanabi simply sat up and removed her gauntlet. You know, huff. Konohamaru started, you're unique. I wouldn't have had any chance if it weren't for Naruto Sensei's instruction. Hanabi glared for a few seconds before letting out a sigh. I have to say, you did remarkably well for someone with so few skills. And the skills you possess could only have been acquired from Naruto Sama, she sighed. You are quite skilled with what you have. Please pardon my rudeness. Don't worry about it, Konohamaru snorted. In fact, I enjoyed my battle with you. The other students in the academy are now too weak, and Undon and Moegi never want to spar. Once more, what was your name? She said, it's Hanabi, and Konohamaru stood up, grinning. That's cool. Konohamaru Sarutobi is who I am. the next Hokage of Konoha. Hanabi grinned slightly in spite of herself and said, "Nice to meet you." Konohamaru.kun, "I think we should leave," said the orange-haired girl as Undan and Moegi, both of whom appeared to have been through hell and back, came up a second later. "You're not going anywhere until you help me clean this mess," Hanabi scowled. Moegi glared at her as she grabbed Konohamaru's arm for emphasis, and Undan simply sighed. When everyone returned home later that evening, they would be shocked to see a scroll on elemental manipulation left unrolled in front of them in Hanabi, Konohamaru, Moegi, and Undan sleeping next to each other in the dojo. However, they all disregarded it in favor of more desirable objectives like rest or taking a shower, or in Naruto's case, when he got home at the break of day, something to relieve his throbbing headache. Damn, Suichi was bigger than he had anticipated, but whatever. The jerk would be walking again by the time the Chunin exams were finished, so it wouldn't be a huge deal. The Kyuubi remarked, "Hey, what a clever use for runes though I must say," and Naruto nodded. "I'm going to kill him if he breaks that spine. I worked really hard on that fucking thing." The Kyuubi chuckled and said, "Stop talking. My head." He missed Yugo's affectionate and witty gaze. What a day. The day that had been on everyone's mind for a long time, particularly for the Konoha genin, had finally arrived. Now that the Chunin exams had arrived, it was time to begin. Standing erect in the tree that overlooked the academy, Naruto, Yugito, and Sai watched the genin as they filed in, keeping a watchful eye out for any trouble. Sai remarked, "What a strange village symbol," and pointed to the three genin with the musical note. "Hidden music. Hidden choir. Hidden symphony." Laughing at Sai's antics, Yugito remarked, "Hidden sound. I heard a couple of people talking about it. They're here to make their debut." Naruto examined the three closely. They came from a newbie village, so they were newbies, huh? Fascinating. The person with the wrapped face gave them a startled look, but he remained silent and grunted before joining his teammates. Naruto's eyebrow went up. Still, that small deed was impressive. He glanced at Yugito and Sai. They appeared somewhat impressed as well. "He has excellent awareness," said Nibi Jinchuriki. Naruto simply shrugged, but Sai nodded. They saw some people they knew walk into the academy. Naruto watched them for a while. It was clear that Hinata and her group were trackers. This was undoubtedly demonstrated by the Aburame and the Inuzuka. Hinata smiled and waved as she looked up at them, causing her teammates to follow suit. Yugito smiled. Naruto simply nodded slightly, and Sai waved back, quite comically, too. When the Aburame saw Naruto's armor, he arched an eyebrow, and the Inuzuka slightly shrank. A second later, they were inside the academy. "Hey, lively bunch," Yugito muttered. "Wonder why she never brought her team over." "That should be obvious," Sai remarked. Naruto.san is a scary person. Yugito gave the pale ink user a pout. Uzumaki.kun is amazing. Anyone who can't see that is an idiot. With a sigh, Naruto carried on with his observations. He instantly stiffened as a wave of pure demonic killing intent passed over him. Yugito's eyes widened and she also stiffened. They turned and looked down as one. The sand team was it. With confidence and purpose, they strode in the direction of the academy. However, the redhead who was in the lead. Before Naruto could speak, Yugito spoke her mind. "A Jinchuriki," she uttered with caution. "What the hell is someone like him doing in a Chunin exam?" Naruto's own eyes widened slightly in surprise. That's what made him so strange. Another demon container. His gaze focused on the redhead, absorbing all the information. It was worth watching this one. Naruto already lacked trust in people who were similar to him. Yugito himself was an assassin. If someone proved to be too bothersome or anything, he would kill them without hesitation or warning. And this man's eyes conveyed the same message. He was a murderer who had been killing for at least as long as Naruto. His eyes had a slightly crazy gleam, but not enough to make him lose his temper at any time. He had experienced some bad things in the past, but they weren't so bad as to overshadow any good things that had happened to him. Naruto had a fleeting vision of a small, faceless child, but he was unable to identify or make the connection. He shrugged as the sand team entered the academy. Later, he would figure it out. Sai and Yugito both appeared to relax. "We'll have to keep an eye on that one." "Indeed," Sai replied. Sasuke and his pink-haired teammate arrived a second later. With a hint of amusement, Naruto lifted an eyebrow. Was Sasuke calming the pink-haired girl who was clinging to his arm and appeared anxious? "Every day you discover something new about someone, hee. Ooh, they're so cute together. I wonder where the brat is though? She might already be inside. We got here a bit late. Yugito gave a shrug. True. 6969. When Sakura and Sasuke got to the academy, they ran into Kakashi and Hanabi. The Chunin smiled and said, "Ah, so you did decide to show up Sakura-chan?" The girl with the pink hair snarled as she leapt away from Sasuke. The hell is that supposed to mean, jackass? Kakashi simply raised his hands in a gesture of simulated submission. Sasuke laughed. Kakashi grinned in response to his three students' smirks. Mama, no need to be so defensive, sheesh. Anyway, you're all here, so the only thing left now is to wish you luck and guide you forward and whatnot. Good luck, brats. Now get in there. Sasuke grinned more, of course. He walked confidently forward and unlocked the doors. And was immediately confronted by the image of two boys teasing a girl wearing buns and a man dressed in green. Hanabi poked Sasuke in the ribs as he opened his mouth to speak. Muttering, "Don't say anything, those two harassing the people are here for a reason. And in case you hadn't noticed, my cousin is on that team. Let's go." With a slight nod and a smirk, Sasuke turned to face Neji, the team member feigning weakness, and nodded before making his way straight through the genjutsu to the third floor. They reached a second room, a spacious training area typically utilized by academy students. Both Sasuke and Hanabi were in a good mood. Sakura was also starting to feel a little more assured. "Hey you. With the dark eyes." Sasuke, Hanabi, and Sakura were taken aback when they turned to see the man in green from before standing on the balcony above them. He was smiling. "You're Uchiha Sasuke, are you not? I wish to challenge you." He jumped down, landed squarely in front of the Uchiha, and gave him a fierce, challenge-filled look. "I am Rock Lee, Konoha's handsome green beast. Come on, let's stoke our young act fires." Neji was standing behind him, twitching his eyebrow and extending his pointer finger, when he abruptly collapsed, unable to move. "You simpleton, what did I just say? We're trying to keep a low profile," he growled. Keeping a low profile is not the same as challenging the Uchiha. "Come on now." Facing Team 7, he sighed in frustration and lifted Lee onto his shoulder. "Pardon him. He requires a leash, much like a child." "How unyoung of you, Neji-san." Hanabi eyed her cousin for a few seconds before waving dismissively, choosing instead to try out a saying she'd heard the day before. "No sweat," she said. "This is an exciting day, right?" Sakura giggled while Sasuke smirked. The effect she was aiming for was ruined by her voice, which was cute and a little girlish, because she is a little girl, and a little emotionless. This time, Sakura chuckled and gave Hanabi a head pat. "Hanabi-chan, who are you attempting to imitate?" "Stop talking." After slapping Sakura's hand away, she turned and walked huffily to the door, saying, "Let's just go." Sasuke shrugged and laughed at Neji, Lee, and a new Tenten. He said, "I'll spar with you after this is all over and done with," and Lee gave him an enthusiastic whoop as he was carried away like a bag of potatoes. Hanabi laughed a little, and the team moved to the door and pushed it open as a unit. They were met with total silence and the glares of everyone around them. Sakura started to look around anxiously, and Sasuke scoffed as the killing intent started to radiate. Sasuke and Hanabi immediately started a staring contest. Sasu-kun, whoosh, bam, until a yellow and purple blur suddenly appeared and crashed into the Uchiha, transforming into a pretty blonde girl with her arms firmly around him and a big smile on her face. "You've arrived. I'm very happy. Get the hell off of him, Ino." "Pig," she cried, pressing her cheek into his hair. Sakura was not happy. Sakura growled, Ino grinned, and Hanabi sighed and turned away, muttering something about obnoxious fangirls. "You guys are also present, aren't you? How annoying." A chubby boy eating chips and a lazy-looking boy with a pineapple for a head showed up. Sasuke, who had managed to free himself from Ino's grip, eyed the boys and said, "Nara, Akamichi," to which Shikamaru gave him a disinterested half-wave and Choji grinned while continuing to eat his chips. A trio of additional presences then emerged. "Hey, it appears that everyone is present. This is going to be amazing. Think you can handle it, Sasuke?" he asked with a smug expression. Just crossing his arms, the Uchiha said, "Can you?" He smirked superiorly as he asked, and Hinata laughed, "Of course we can." "Yes. This is no longer the academy, Uchiha," exclaimed Kiba. "Don't undervalue us." When Hanabi poked him in the back of the knee, Sasuke just grinned a little more. "Oh, knock it off already, it's getting old," she said. "Hey, who are you to boss Sasuke-kun around, huh brat?" shouted Ino. "Shut up, Bimbo, it's none of your concern. Growling, Ino said, why you little? Ahem. When all 9 pairs of eyes looked in the direction of the noise maker, they saw an older boy with gray hair and round glasses with a slightly frowning face. You people certainly create a lot of noise. You should keep it down a little because this isn't a playground. Kiba was irritated and said, shut up, as he tried to appear friendly as he approached them. 4 eyes, no one asked you what you thought. The boy gave a non-committal shrug after appearing to smirk, saying, maybe, but you might want to look around. The snarling faces of the other competitors greeted the Konoha genin when they did. The older boy went on talking. You're all prime targets for attack because of the way you're acting, which makes you seem like haughty newbies. They are known for being quite ruthless and scary, so I would be careful if I were you, he said, pointing to 3 particularly ferocious looking ninja from the hidden rain. Of all people, Hanabi started with peeved, which caused a number of glares to intensify and center on her. I will stop being a ninja the day a group of scumbags like them threaten someone like me. These jerks are worthless. I agree, Sasuke said, but their intention to kill is pitiful. Allow them to arrive. Be quiet. How foolish of you. Stop talking, Kiba shouted. Hinata said, it's true though, causing her teammate to gasp and turn to face her. If they can survive a day with Naruto, then they can have something to brag about. Until then they can all stuff it and leave us alone. Sakura shuddered. How in the world had she forgotten about Naruto? Nothing in this room was more frightening than that puppet. Using boy. Nothing. Just thinking about it helped her to calm down a little. Naruto? As in Naruto Uzumaki? The older boy said this, and he clearly noticed that a number of the other Konoha teams abruptly turned away, looking scared. Let the rookies boast and talk trash. There was no way they were going to risk being in the same room as Naruto. God bless whoever made the decision to not take the tests. Sasuke spoke and shrugged, a little conscious that Ino was still holding on to him. There's only one Naruto in the village, so yeah. With a sheepish laugh, the body repositioned his glasses and said, well, that is definitely unexpected. To think that some of his friends would be taking these tests. How fascinating, hee. Your confidence appears to have been earned. This was fantastic. He loved shaking people up, so he took out a deck of cards and shuffled through them, ignoring the curious looks he was receiving from the 4 nin and stifling a big-ass grin. He started reading after bringing up a card featuring Naruto's emotionless mugshot. Uzumaki Naruto was born on October 10th, and he is 13 years old. He has incredible ninjutsu, stealth, trap making, and fujutsu skills. He has above average taijutsu and nearly expert level kenjutsu. Well, oh, I understand. He is incredibly strong and skilled at using the puppet technique. He is well known in the village for being one of the people who killed Momochi Zabuza, defeated Yugito Ni, the Jinchuriki of the Nibi, and eliminated Root with the aid of Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga's Hanabi, Hinata and Neji, and a boy named Suichi. Hey. Since everyone was aware of Naruto's identity, he didn't bring up the fact that he was also the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. There was no need to create unnecessary anxiety at this time, and he wasn't entirely certain that the Sandame's law was still in force. What the devil? That was Konkuro's mental response. He was unable to stop his jaw from dropping. A chilly drop of perspiration trickled down his cheek, and he was on the verge of shaking. He had to ask, though, because the earlier incident kept replaying in his head, still accompanied by Naruto's icy expression. He said something. How on earth is he aware of the puppet technique? Suna is supposed to be the only one with that. It was true. When they found out, Suna was going to lose it. The young man with 4 eyes smirked a little more broadly as he turned to face the puppeteer from Suna. Yes, you're right, he started, but Naruto is aware of it. He grinned more broadly, but it's unclear how he arrived at that conclusion. So I guess you're going to tell your boss? He can try, Sasuke said, his eyes slowly bleeding over into Sharingan, before Kankuro could react. Oh, he can try all day. Neji said, yes, as his own eyes came to life from the back of the room. But he will die first. Several ninjas gasped and turned to face him as Hanabi said that while flexing her claws. Naruto's companions immediately focused on him, their bodies tense and prepared to act, as the redhead's eyes narrowed and his own killing intent started to permeate the air. You have a lot of maggots, so settle down. The proctor, a large, menacing man with a scarred face and a taste for black clothes, arrived with a number of other Chunin-level shinobi, instantly breaking the tension. The name's Ibiki, he started, now take a seat or get out of here. 6969. Naruto, my boy, Sarutobi said with a warm grin. How is it going so far? The blonde boy shrugged and said, uneventful. Yugito nodded in agreement with her teammate, while Sai just stared, in that obnoxious, creepy way that practically assured him he would never have another chance with a girl of any kind for the foreseeable future, or so Yugito once told him. When Naruto said, a new village entered though, he raised an eyebrow, called themselves the Hidden Sound. Interesting bunch they were, Sai remarked. They have extremely excellent awareness, or hearing. Well, the leader did, far more perceptive than the average genin. He has potential. I see. Anything else? The blonde puppet master said, no, which caused the third Hokage to smile. Thank you there, you are dismissed. The three of them saluted and left the room, saying, Sir. Kaharu emerged from the shadows beside Sarutobi, frowning and gazing at the location where Naruto and his group had been. You really should do something about that, boy. And you are making a mistake by keeping that girl from Kumo here too. Sarutobi gave his former teammate a sidelong glance. His voice was icy as he asked, something you want, Kaharu? In what appeared to be frustration, the elderly woman shook her head. Kaharu had softened, if only slightly, over the years, even though he still publicly disliked Naruto and had never opposed his execution. The Kyuubi was no longer the reason she detested him. Instead, she detested him for everything else. She finds it disgusting that Sarutobi gives the brat the freedom he does. As Hokage, she understands that Sarutobi is in charge, even though Naruto is a threat to everyone who needs to be dealt with. You will come to one day regret your action, old friend, she believed. You couldn't trust that little monster. She paused to sneer in the place where Naruto had been standing and said, your boy forgot to mention, after that. That Suna has sent their Jinchuriki. What? Kaharu gave a nod before disappearing back into the darkness, her voice barely audible. Keep an eye on him. A Jinchuriki has no place in a Chunin exam. Something is up. The third Hokage was aware of this and promised to keep a watchful eye out. Yes, something was wrong. 69. As soon as Naruto left the Hokage tower, Konohamaru immediately ambushed him. Almost ambushed, actually. As though it were natural, the whip, like tail that was wrapped around Naruto's waist, reacted by slapping the boy in the head, causing him to flip sideways and land on his head. Ow. Jerk. What the heck was that for geez? Konohamaru rubbed the large lump on his head while glaring angrily at his sensei. Naruto just crossed his arms. He inquired, did you clean up that mess? Konohamaru took a moment to understand, but then flashbacks to his brief altercation with Hanabi appeared. Anger, or something else, made him flush. Naruto was unable to tell and had no desire to do so. Yeah, I got it cleaned up. Was way easy too. Chakra strings are amazing. Humph. Naruto said nothing more and started to walk away. Sai was either taking notes or drawing a picture, and Yugito was holding on to his left arm in a possessive manner. Whatever it was, Yugito was laughing like a little girl and Naruto was looking irritated. Kami, they're weird, Konohamaru muttered. Naturally, he was referring to Naruto's teammates. The man himself, Naruto-sensei, was absolutely amazing. That was undeniable. I need more training, damn it, he yelled, abruptly pursuing the blonde. The dark-skinned man with white hair that was almost afro style went unnoticed by them, either because they were too busy distracting one another or because they simply didn't care. Why? Yugito? Darui-san? Astonished, the man turned to face the woman who had spoken, saying, Mabui, I think I saw Yugito, Dono. What? Yeah, however, didn't she go on a suicide mission that she would never return from? That's what the old geezer said. Come on, Mabui whispered, we have an appointment to keep. And she took Darui by the wrist and started to drag him to the Hokage tower. Darui kept thinking about Yugito and the unfair treatment she received, as well as the treatment of the majority of the villagers. Abi. You won't believe this, he whispered, hoping the Hokage would pay attention long enough to complete their mission.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.